subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
The royal family of Alabasta? After hearing this, Vivi smiled and introduced herself. I'm the Queen of Alabasta, and I am very happy to meet you, lady. Kiana smiled and stretched out her hand and said, Kiana, the Queen of Ixakin. Vivi also smiled and gently shook Kia's hand, but she was already a little more vigilant in her heart. Although Ixtal nominally belongs to Alabasta, in fact, it is not. And Kiana's personality seems to be quite flamboyant. Vivi thinks that the other party should not be a quiet person. Kiana looked at Nefertiti. With a scrutinizing look, Vivi, in her heart, has already regarded the other party as a competitor. As a girl with a flamboyant and arrogant personality, Kiana is also an empress, and an extremely ambitious empress. One day, everywhere will be the land of Exoicon. A great empire deserves a wise empress. Kiana, this is what Kiana said when she ascended the throne. This quote alone can give us what kind of person Kiana is. Proud, arrogant, and ambitious. To use the evaluation of Rengar, who was present at the time, this is another Sataka. You, the empress of an enemy country, dare to come to my Exoicon. I have to say that you are quite confident. Kiana sneered. Vivi, who heard some hostility in Kiana's words, was not afraid and said confidently, I want to leave. You can't keep me. The Sataka fruit gave her the ability to move with God and steel, and even an almost invincible fighting instinct. Based on these 3 points alone, Vivi was confident to leave this place. Vivi didn't know what a strong person above Admiral was, but one thing was certain, that the person in front of her was definitely not a strong person above Admiral. After watching the show for a while, Jella acted as a peacemaker. Okay, I invited them to drink. Don't make things so tense. I'll give you this face, Kiana nodded. Kiana still respected Jaira and Rengar. As a strong supremacist, Kiana knew that Jaira and Rengar, who had lived for more than 200 years, had definitely touched the threshold above Admiral. It's not an exaggeration to say that such a person could defeat a country. Of course, the standard of a country here is based on Ixakin. Jaira smiled and poured a glass of wine for everyone. Jaira said, the brewing method of this 100 flowers wine was taught to me by the saint. Try it. You will be surprised. Wei Wei listened and took a sip curiously. The 100 flowers wine melted in the mouth and then instantly spread from the abdomen to all parts of the body. Feeling warm all over the body instantly, Vivi couldn't help but groan. Vivi looked at Jaira in surprise. Jaira explained with a chuckle. 100 flowers wine has the effect of enhancing the essence of life. Kiana next to her was a thorough pragmatist. She wanted to drink Baiwa wine not for wine tasting, but for its effects. After finishing it in one breath, Kiana looked at Jella eagerly, like a child asking for pocket money from her parents. Jella smiled and refused. Only 1 cup. Although Baiwa wine is good, you can't drink too much. Hearing this, Kiana instantly turned her attention to Vivi. After discovering the benefits of Baiwa wine, how could Vivi give up the wine in her hand? When Kiana set her sights on the wine in her hand, Vivi had already finished it in 1 gulp. How cool. After finishing the work in 1 breath, Wei Wei sighed sincerely. Kiana, who was very unhappy, continued to fire. By the way, what do you want to do in Ixtal, woman? Are you trying to gather intelligence? I heard that some vicious criminals came here a while ago. I'm afraid they will have a bad impact on Ixtal, so I came to take a look. Vivi explained. Ah, you are meddling in other people's business, Kiana sneered. Kiana suddenly asked with gloating, I heard that Alabasta is suffering from a serious water shortage recently. I guess food is also in short supply. What do you mean? Vivi couldn't help but frowned. Alabasta is in great shortage of food. Before, because of the dancing powder incident, half of the people in Alabasta almost died of thirst. Under this background, how could they still have water to irrigate the farmland? Alabasta has not produced its own food for almost 3 years. Kiana said proudly. I can sell it to you. We in Ixakin lack everything except food. Vivi asked cautiously, What do you want? Kiana said loudly. How about Alabasta becoming a vassal state of Ixacan? Impossible. Vivi shook her head and rejected Kiana without even thinking about it. What a joke. How could Alabasta become a vassal state of Ixacan? You know, more than 200 years ago, Ixtal was part of Alabasta. Kiana was not surprised to be rejected. Kiana continued. Then let's trade. Now that the seal has been lifted, it's time for Ixacan to contact the outside world. Ixacan's military strength is not weak, and it can be self-sufficient in food, but the problem is that Ixacan has been out of touch with the world for too long, so it needs some time to adapt to this world. It is precisely because of this that Kiana just opened her mouth so high, and her purpose was to bring about the trade between the two countries. Vivi nodded. That's no problem. Alabasta welcomes any friends. Absolute strength gave Vivi a lot of confidence. Since eating the Sataka fruit, Vivi has become more and more confident. Vivi asked curiously, does Ixacan have a lot of food? Kiana said confidently and ostentatiously. As long as I want. I can even let Ixacan feed the whole world. When Rengar saw this scene, he shook his head helplessly. This little girl was too arrogant. Kiana, don't be so arrogant. If the inheritance left by the saint in Alabasta is not broken, Ixacan can only become a vassal of Alabasta now. Rengar advised beside him. Having experienced the period of the Ascendant, Rengar knew how terrifying Alabasta was during that period. You should know that the strength of the saints in supporting Alabasta was to confront the world government. At most, Ixtal could only be regarded as eating some of the scraps left by the saints. And these scraps have created today's Ixacan. Because Ixacan is isolated from the world, it has not broken the inheritance left by the saints. Without exaggeration or slander, Ixacan is a third-rate country without the elemental axiom. Chapter 86. The Glory of the Old Empire. Hearing this, Vivi once again felt a strong curiosity and possessiveness for the sun disk left by the saint. Ixtal only obtained some scraps left by the saint, but dared to claim that the food in its country could feed the whole world. What about the sun disk? What about those disappeared ascenders? If these miracles could be reproduced, how powerful would Alabasta be? Kiana curled her lips, but did not say much. Although she was arrogant, she still respected the supreme saint from the bottom of her heart. As Rengar said, without the legacy left by the saint, Ixtal would be a third-rate country. Let me take you around Ixacan. Let you see what a miracle the place you are in is. Kiana took the initiative to invite. Vivi nodded and followed Kiana around the city. Naval headquarters. Akainu, who finally recovered to his prime, looked gloomy. He didn't look very good these days. Akainu never thought that Kuzan, who was once inferior to him, now had the power to crush him. For marine admirals besieged him, including him. As a result, 2 of them were replaced by Kazan. This is simply a great shame. Sitting in the office, Akainu said nothing. Stupid 90 obviously still hasn't recovered from the previous blow. Kizaru in the next office is just the opposite. Compared with Akainu, who is deeply shocked, Kizaru is much more optimistic. Adhering to the principle of lying down where you fall, Kizaru did not feel humiliated, but just felt a little incredible. Kuzan's strength is improving so fast that even these old comrades are a little dazed. Just then, a clerk came in with a small box. Admiral Kizaru, this is a souvenir sent by someone from your hometown. Kizaru raised his eyebrows and then looked at the box in front of him in confusion. A local specialty sent from my hometown? Kizaru, who was born in the Grand Line, did not encounter any bitter or deep hatred. So his personality is completely different from Akainu. Kizaru always felt that his childhood was quite happy. He was born in a noble family. Although he was only a noble of a small country, he was at least a small asset, and that small country was far away from the Grand Line, so he didn't have to worry about pirates. Compared to other marine admirals, Kizaru should be the one with the highest berth in public. After all, he is also a noble. Could it be sent by my younger brother? Kizaru touched his chin thoughtfully. Kizaru's parents died of old age, and now it is his younger brother who manages the family business and inherits the title of noble. Although the relationship between the two brothers cannot be said to be very good, it is not bad. It is just that kind of normal relationship between brothers. Kizaru curiously opened the box. What came into view was a notebook that looked very worn, and the age was very high, definitely more than 1,000 years old. There was also a letter under the notebook. Kizaru took the notebook, opened it, and took a look, then closed it directly. The words on it are Chinese characters. After all, those square characters are too recognizable. Kizaru opened the letter under the notebook. Brother, this is what I found among my parents' relics. The world government is collecting things related to Chinese characters. I think this thing should be able to help, so I sent it to you. This notebook was obtained by my father when he was young and adventurous. According to his story at the time, he found it on a small island in the calm belt by mistake. There are some very advanced technologies on that island, and my father relied on those technologies to survive and leave the windless zone. Now I give this to you, hoping it can help you, and don't bring this thing back. It should be very precious. I'm afraid it will bring disaster to our family. Kizaru thoughtfully lit the letter in his hand with light. It's a pity that Guillaume went out, otherwise I could ask him to help translate the content on it. Kizaru sighed with some regret. Kizaru carefully put away the notebook. This thing is quite precious. Anyone who has seen the notebook knows that the things left by the time traveler are worthless. After visiting Exoacon, Vivi was ready to return. After all, she came here to find Doflamingo's men. Since those people have been dealt with, and she knows the strength of Ixtal, Vivi has no intention of paying attention to this area. Now Vivi even hopes that Doflamingo will be stubborn and come and give him a head. Because of the sand crocodile, Vivi has no good feelings towards Shichibukai, and even hopes that they are all gone. When leaving, Jellic gave Vivi a worn-out notebook. Jaira said, "According to the master, this contains the ultimate secret of Alabasta, and the real Shurima is hidden inside." Vivi took the notebook hesitantly, and then laughed and teased. "Is this also one of the plans of the saint?" Jaira nodded. Seeing that Jaira didn't seem to be joking, Vivi's smile slowly faded. It seems that she has become one of the opponent's pawns without knowing it. As long as you can give me the power to protect Alabasta, I don't recommend becoming your pawn," Vivi whispered in her heart. After saying goodbye to Jella, Vivi hurried back to the palace. Before she even sat down, Vivi heard the report from her subordinates. The official reported, "Your Majesty, there are 2 people outside who want to see you." "Who are they?" Vivi asked with a frown. The official shook his head. "I don't know. They look mysterious in their cloaks. By the way, they are very strong. The guards in the palace are no match for them," the official added. Vivi nodded. This is normal. If these 2 people were not strong enough, Yuan would not come to report this matter. "Let them in." Vivi waved her hand and said confidently. Vivi was not worried that the 2 people were here to harm her. As far as the number of strong people in the world is concerned, the number of people who can kill her can be counted on 2 hands, and there is no one who can kill him in seconds. Soon the 2 mysterious people were brought in. Sitting high on the throne, Vivi looked at the 2 people nonchalantly and asked, "You are the ones looking for me?" Kazan nodded, and then asked hoarsely, "I want to know some information about Ixtal, so I want to ask Queen Vivi for a favor." Hearing this, Vivi sneered, and just as she was about to refute, Vivi saw Kazan take off his hat. After seeing Kazan's face, Vivi couldn't help but shrink her pupils. Swish stood up from the throne and asked, "Marine defected Admiral Kazan? What do you want to do in our Alabasta? No Marine is welcome here." In this world, the nature of Marine is somewhat similar to the American garrison for these member states. Generally speaking, if a member state allows Marine to settle in, it means that it will give some law enforcement rights to Marine. Hero, after the incident with Crocodile, Vivi no longer trusts Marine. After all, it was the pirate Luffy, not Marine, who saved Alabasta. Kazan quickly explained, No. Queen Vivi, you misunderstood. Our new Marine is now worried about West Blue, and there's no way we can have extra troops to support Alabasta." "What joke? You don't want the new Marine to settle in?" "The new Marine is not willing to come here." Seeing that it was not about the Marine settling in, Vivi asked curiously, "Then why are you here?" Kazan explained, "I want to know something about Ixtal." According to the guidance of the saints, Ixtal is said to have food that can feed the whole world. We are here for food. There's another reason why Kazan came to the door. That is, because Kazan also knew that Alabasta is also short of food. The news that Ixtal has enough food to feed the whole world spread so quickly. Vivi was confused. As a neighbor of Ixtal, she only knew about this yesterday. How did Zahn know? Soon, Vivi guessed the truth of the matter. Is it because of that person's diary? But that's right. The first to find those notebooks was the world government. Vivi suddenly realized and asked, "Is your new marine short of food?" Kazan nodded with a wry smile and said, "To be precise, the whole West Blue is short of food." After that, Jizan asked meaningfully, "I think Her Majesty the Queen should have received some orders from the world government?" Vivi was full of doubts. She really didn't know about this. Seeing Vivi's reaction, Kazan was also a little surprised. Vivi, the queen, didn't know the decree of the time government. Kazan said, "Didn't Alabasta receive the ban on West Blue?" Vivi shook her head in confusion. Alabasta did not receive any orders from the world government. At this moment, an official next to Vivi suddenly said, "Your Majesty, the world government did issue an order that is, we are prohibited from having any trade with West Blue." Vivi frowned. "Why didn't you say anything about this?" "B. Carrot." The official looked at Kazan a little embarrassed, and then explained awkwardly, "Because we Alabasta have no trade with West Blue." After all, the official did not continue the rest of the words. Vivi's mouth twitched slightly, and his face was also full of embarrassment. Alabasta's natural resources are really too poor. It is no exaggeration to say that the only valuable thing in Alabasta is people. But people are also the cheapest. And West Blue is not short of people. Okay. Vivi nodded. Kazan's mouth twitched slightly. He did not expect that Alabasta, one of the largest member states of the world government, would live such a miserable life. Alabasta is like this. How did you get all the gold in the sky? Nanzan complained after hearing this. Vivi said awkwardly, "The legacy of our ancestors, she left us a lot of wealth. In fact, Alabasta has been living off his old capital since 200 years ago." This alone shows how powerful Alabasta was during Sataka's reign. The resources and wealth accumulated during Sataka's reign supported Alabasta for more than 200 years. When Vivi said this, she felt a little ashamed. After all, it is really shameful to rely on one's parents, not to mention that one is relying on one's parents with the whole country. Chapter 87, Icathia and the Ascendants. Kazan's mouth twitched slightly, very good and powerful. All the people in Alabasta had to kowtow to Vivi's ancestors, relying on the wealth left by the royal family to hand over the heavenly gold. And it has been called for so long, Alabasta is indeed rich. However, it is not difficult to see from this point that the Alabasta royal family loves the people. At least the royal family did not obtain the heavenly gold by exploiting the civilians. Vivi said, "I can take you to Ixtal and introduce you to the Queen of Ixtal." Faced with such tempting conditions, Wu Jin asked, "What's the price?" Vivi asked, "Do you know anyone who can translate Chinese characters?" Robin left, and the most important thing was that Straw Hat Crew did not leave her any contact information. It would definitely not work to go out to sea to find it. So Vivi set her sights on the new marine. Kazan's eyes lit up, and then he asked calmly, "Do you have Chinese characters that need to be translated?" Vivi nodded. Seeing Vivi nod, Kazan's mouth corners rose wildly. "Isn't this a professional match? The person next to me knows Chinese characters and is very grandmaster, but I require that the contents of the notebook must be translated here." Kazan asked. As for why he asked to translate here, of course, it was because he was also interested in the contents of the notebook. Vivi was silent for a moment and nodded. "Okay." Guillaume listened and looked at Kazan next to him. Guillaume felt a little unhappy about Kazan's production ideas, but considering that his mission was to help Kazan, Guillaume finally chose to remain silent. Guillaume took the notebook from Vivi's hand. The notebook in his hand was about 2 centimeters thick, but there were 20 pages torn in the middle, which means that this broken notebook was incomplete. Thinking of this, Guillaume felt helpless and resigned himself to his fate. After all, at least 9 out of 10 notebooks are incomplete. It would be strange if he encountered a complete notebook. Guillaume opened the notebook and started translating directly. In my imagination, Shurima should be in the center of the desert. And then with the power of the sun disk, let the sky fall a never-ending waterfall to nourish the entire Alabasta. This, Guillaume gasped after translating the first paragraph. Let the sky fall a never-ending waterfall? Is this trying to poke a hole in the sky? And what is the sun disk? Does that thing have such great power? Guillaume felt that the Queen of Alabasta in front of him must know something. Guillaume calmly probed that. Queen Vivi, do you know what the sun disk is? I have to know what the sun disk is before I can translate the following content. Believed to be true, Vivi explained. I only know that the sun disk can mass-produce demon fruit power of the illusion system without side effects. The owner of the diary calls them ascenders, and now the sun disk has been destroyed. Hearing this, Guillaume felt a little pity, but more of a relief. He didn't know the specific effect of the sun disk, but just what Vivi said was enough to shock the whole world. The Zoan demon fruit power has no side effects. If there really is such a thing in the world, it will definitely shake the entire ocean. And turbulence means chaos, and chaos means more civilians will suffer. Guillaume continued to translate. The main material of the sun disk is sea stone, which is too precious, but fortunately I know Wanakuni has a lot of sea stone. Guillaume quickly turned several pages again. Wanakuni does not agree to cooperate. I will remember this grudge. The Kazuki family deserves that you will have that trouble in the future, but fortunately, I am the Earth Fruit ability user. With the ability to control the Earth, I moved a sea stone mine, which will be the foundation of the sun disk. It worked. Guillaume sighed in his heart. But think about it, it's right. With the ability of that traverser, as long as he wants to do it, he can do it. And Kazan is concerned about Wanakuni. It is said that Wanakuni is now under the brutal rule of Kurizumi Orochi, and it is also the territory of Kaido. The owner of the diary said that Wanakuni will have a disaster in the future. It is probably this disaster, right? The day when the sun disk was completed, the whole of Shurima cheered. This will also be the starting point of all miracles. From this moment on, the Ascendants officially stepped onto the stage of this world, and the first one to become an Ascendant was Aatrox. Aatrox is the best warrior in Shurima, and also the warrior I admire most. Even his name was given to him by me. Kazan glanced at Vivi calmly. Kazan, who is spies and marine, also knows some information about the queen in front of him. Originally just a princess with a little bit of martial arts, Alabasta even defeated the Sand Cod with the help of the children of the Straw Hat Pirates. But it was such an incompetent princess who turned around and became an admiral-level strongman in less than 2 months. Kazan was suspicious at first, just like everyone else. Vivi must have eaten some special devil fruit. But now, Kazan suspects that Vivi has performed an ascension ceremony and became the so-called Ascender. So, is this also part of your plan? Saint. Kazan looked at Vivi with a twinkling gaze, and in his heart he had already labeled Vivi as one of his own. After all, everyone is a pawn of the Saint, and it seems not too much to say that they are his own people. With the rise of the sun disk, Ascendants are born every year, and Sataka is increasingly eager to become the strongest Ascendant. Until that day, the nightmare finally came. The sun disk collapsed, and even implicated the entire Shurima region, and Sataka fell into a long sleep. The glorious Shurima region ended before it really rose. To others, this may be an accident, but I feel the fate and trend behind it. Kazan asked curiously, doesn't this diary say the reason for the collapse of the sun disk? Guillaume shook his head. Vivi's eyes flickered when she heard this. Of course, she knew the reason for the collapse of the sun disk, but this was also the dark history of her ancestors, and it would be better if fewer people knew about this kind of thing. Under the rolling trend, I decided to give up Alabasta first and take the remaining Ascenders to places that were not in Destiny, where the plot appeared. Finally, we came to the west of Alabasta, a place I named Icathia, and then completely gave up supporting the Alabasta royal family. So those Ascenders didn't die in that incident. Vivi couldn't help but think. Ascendants have almost eternal life. Does this mean that those ascenders may still be alive? After all, Jella and the others have lived from 300 years ago to the present. Thinking of this, Vivi's breathing became a little rapid. In that era, those who could become ascenders were warriors who were loyal to Sataka, which means they would definitely be loyal to Alabasta. What's the content later? What happened after they arrived in Icathia? Vivi urged excitedly. After hearing this, Guillaume closed the notebook, shrugged his shoulders, and said, "No more. No more. Such a thick notebook. Only this much content." Vivi stood up from the throne excitedly. She felt that the woman in front of her was fooling her. "But I'm telling the truth," Guillaume said. Seeing that Vivi's eyes were still full of doubt, Guillaume explained helplessly. "This notebook looks very thick. The main reason is that this hardcover is very thick. The content of the notebook is actually not a few pages, and these pages are particularly thick." Hearing this, Vivi took the notebook, looked at it carefully, and sighed a little decadently. "So, do you really want to go there? The place where Queen Sataka sleeps." Vivi was a little entangled in her heart. There must be clues about Acacia there, and there will also be the whereabouts of those ascenders. But the problem is that she herself does not know Chinese characters. So if you want to explore the secrets of Acacia, you have to bring these two people, but that is Alabasta's biggest secret. After thinking for a while, Vivi said, "I will take you to Ixtal tomorrow. The officer will take these two to rest." After Kazan and Guillaume were taken to rest, Vivi said to his subordinates not far away, "Go and find out about the new Marine and Kazan style of doing things. The more detail, the better." Vivi decided to see who Kuzan is first, and then decide whether to take these two people to the place where Sataka is sleeping. New World, Ghost Island. After returning to his own territory, Kaido drank alcohol in depression, as if he wanted to save himself and drink himself to death. Jean looked at Kaido, who was drinking to relieve his sorrow, and his eyes were full of worry. After Kaido came back, he kept drinking there and didn't talk to others, which made him very worried about his boss's condition. Jean cautiously tried, "Boss, didn't you go to find Skull Island 330? Why did you come back?" Hearing this, Kaido finally couldn't help crying. "Osasosos." Kaido cried and said, "Jean, my dream has been shattered. I found Skull Island, but I can't beat the guardian of that island." This blow was even more painful for Kaido than not finding Skull Island. The treasure was right in front of him, but he missed it because of his own strength. This would be painful for anyone, not to mention that Kaido was a power supremacist. Jean was surprised and said, "The opponent's strength is stronger than the boss. What kind of existence is Kaido? The strongest creature in the world. There is no one in the world who could defeat Kaido. Even Whitebeard, who is known as the strongest man in the world, can only tie with Kaido. But a guardian of Skull Island who is not well known can actually defeat Kaido? How can he not forgive him?" Kaido drank a sip of wine, then nodded and admitted, "Yes, that guy is stronger than me, especially in terms of strength." Jin's eyes flickered and then asked, "How much stronger?" Kaido said confidently, "A little stronger than me, but definitely not much stronger. The most terrifying thing about King Kong is his Titan strength. Apart from that, King Kong is not as good as him in other aspects. Whether it is recovery or physical fitness, Kaido is confident that he is stronger than the other party." Jin's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and then encouraged, "Then Kaido, why don't you ask Mom to join forces? Getting 10 things is better than getting nothing, right? After all, Mom doesn't know the Titan Devil Fruit." Hearing this, Kaido's eyes lit up. "Yes, Charlotte. Linlin doesn't know the specialness of the Titan Devil Fruit, and the two of them can definitely defeat that King Kong together." Thinking of this, Kaido was excited. "Ha ha ha! Jean is worthy of you." Kaido patted Jin's shoulder excitedly, and then announced, "I will go find Linlin after my injuries are healed. I think we can deal with King Kong together." Jean saw that his boss finally cheered up again, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 88. The Girl, known as the world's most powerful spy. Alabasta. Vivi found that Kuzan's reputation was unexpectedly good, and the new Marine had no black history. But think about it. It makes sense. After all, the new marine has not been established for more than a month. It seems that we can give a certain amount of trust. After all, only that woman can translate Chinese characters now. Vivi muttered to herself. With the two people who have been impatient for a long time, Vivi once again set out on the road to Ixtal. With the blessing of the Sataka fruit ability, the Japanese arrived in Ixtal in almost 10 hours. Looking at the dense rainforest in front of him, Kazan smiled and exclaimed, "This ability to speed up others is really magical." Kazan roughly estimated the speed blessing Vivi provided them. If their original speed was 10 nautical miles per hour, then with a slight blessing, their speed would be at least 100 times or even 120 times. What is this concept? If this ability can be used on ships, then Vivi will be able to lead his fleet to carry out long-distance lightning strikes. Considering that this might also be one of the arrangements of the Saint, Zahn thought about how to trick Wei Wei into joining the new marine. This group acceleration ability is so strategic. Guillaume looked at the rainforest in front of him and exclaimed sincerely, "It's hard to imagine that such a large area of rainforest exists in such a dry desert. This place is called the Lungs of Alabasta. I was also surprised when I first came here." Vivi said with a smile, "Let's wait here for a while. Friends in the rainforest should have sensed us." As soon as Vivi finished speaking, a huge vine suddenly broke through the ground, and the budding flowers slowly bloomed and jumped out of the flowers with a smile. Jella asked curiously, "Vivi, why are you here again? Didn't you just leave the day before yesterday?" "I brought them here this time. They should have been guided by the Saint to come to Ixtal for help," Vivi explained. Jella frowned after hearing this, and then looked at Guillaume and Kazan behind Vivi with a suspicious look. It has been almost 200 years since the Saint left Ixtal. These two people claim to have been guided by the Saint. This doesn't sound normal. Kazan quickly took out the letter from his arms. Kazan followed the local customs and said, "This is the letter left by the Saint for me." Originally, he wanted to say time traveler, but Kazan finally chose the title of Saint. Jella took the letter from Kazan's hand. After receiving the letter, Jella no longer doubted Kazan, because this letter does have the breath of that person, and it is particularly strong. This letter was obviously written not long ago. Jella asked, "What help do you want to ask for here?" Kazan said, "Food. We need a lot of food." Jella heard this, and a thrilling and beautiful smile instantly appeared on her face. "Then you have come to the right place." After Jella finished speaking, she led the way in front. As an Ixtarian, Jella loves this rainforest, so she doesn't want it to fall into the vortex of war. But compared to loving this rainforest, Jella is more loyal to Wu Ming. After seeing the letter in Kuzan's hand, Jella finally breathed a sigh of relief. In the layout of the Saints, Ixtar is not a strategic fortress, but a food production base. This also means that Ixtar will not be involved in the war. After all, Ixtar as a food base must not be hit. But the little girl Kiana is ambitious, and we have to find an opportunity to give her a good beating. Jella thought to herself, "It's good as a food production base, but Kiana, a war maniac, is obviously not suitable to be the manager of the food base. But the problem is that Kiana's position as queen has been firmly established, and she must not be driven down. So the only way is to let Kiana, the unfortunate child, be beaten up and severely hit the child's arrogance." Thinking of this, Jella glanced at Vivi next to her. A plan slowly formed in her mind. Under the leadership of Jella, some people came to Ixakan again. After finding out Kuzan's origins, Joya took the opportunity to threaten. "Where are you getting the benefits? What do you use to buy food?" Kuzan was stunned for a moment, and then hurriedly asked, We still need to buy food? We are not ready. Can we buy on credit? West Blue is still waiting for this batch of food. If he waits for him to get the money before trading, how many people will starve to death during the delay?" "Sorry, I don't buy on credit here." Kiana refused coldly. As the Queen of Ixakan, Kiana said that she was not doing charity. Although Ixakan did have a lot of food, it couldn't be given away for free, right? Jaren next to her said, "You really have to help with this matter. Even if it's on credit, you have to admit it." After Jera finished speaking, she handed the letter in her hand to Kiana. "This is the order of the Saint." Hearing this, Kiana's face changed. Although she had never seen the Saint, Her respect for the saint was no less than jealous. Kiana asked with some doubt, "Are you sure this is the saint's intention? You won't be deceived, right?" Jera shook her head firmly. "Impossible. No one in this world can simulate the breath of a saint." Hearing this, Kiana looked at Kuzan cautiously. Kiana also knew that although she was the queen of Ixtal in name, the real owner of Ixtal was actually the saint. The king's power is granted by God. She is the monarch, and the saint is the god who granted him the power. No matter how arrogant Kiana is, he has never thought of disobeying the saint's order. Kiana asked, "Since it is the saint's order, how much food do you need?" "Kazan, good fellow, is this how you play it? You didn't give me credit before, but now you give me for free?" Kuzan's evaluation of the saint's influence has risen a few points. Guillaume was also thoughtful. She didn't expect that the person who taught her Chinese characters and took away her first time many years ago would have such an influence. Guillaume suddenly felt that she was lucky, but also unfortunate. Luckily, she had it before, but unfortunately, she didn't have it now. Kazan said solemnly, "I need food to feed West Blue. How many people are there in West Blue?" Kiana rolled her eyes at Kazan speechlessly. "Don't you know that this queen doesn't know the situation outside? You keep talking about West Blue. I don't know how many people there are in West Blue." Guillaume added, "About 3 billion people." Kazan's strength has indeed become stronger, but his ability to handle government affairs is still so bad that even Adu has to shake his head. 3 billion people, that's really a lot. Kiana nodded with satisfaction and then directly calculated the amount of food West Blue needed in front of her. Kiana asked casually, "US Blue should still be able to produce food, right?" Kazan said, "Yes, but the food produced by West Blue is not enough to feed the entire West Blue, and now the world government has been sending people to destroy West Blue's food production areas. The agents of the world government are really disgusting. They are obviously not very powerful, but they're doing small tricks behind the scenes. They are really disgusting." After a while, Kiana finally calculated the food demand of West Blue. In other words, US Blue needs nearly 2 billion tons of food every year. Kiana asked back. Kazan immediately cast a look of help to Guillaume next to him. She didn't know whether this number was accurate or not. Guillaume nodded solemnly. "Enough. 2 billion tons per year is definitely enough." But a new problem came again. Can a small place like Ixtal really provide so much food to West Blue every year? Kazan looked at Kiana nervously. He was afraid that Kiana would say that Ixtal could not provide so much food. 2 billion tons of food. Such a huge amount, Kazan dared not even think about it. Our grain reserves in Ixakin are about 10 billion tons, and the annual grain output can even be maintained at 80 billion tons. It is definitely not a problem to feed West Blue, but the problem is how to transport these grains to West Blue. Kiana frowned and said, "Since it is the order of the saint, Kiana wants to complete this matter beautifully. But the problem is that Ixakin does have enough food, but there are not enough ships to transport it." Vivi next to him also said worriedly, "Alabasta has a lot of cargo ships, but I don't think this is safe. If the world government knows about it, it will definitely secretly sabotage our transportation routes." Kazan also frowned after hearing this. "Good news. Ixuokan has enough food to feed the entire West Blue. Bad news. There is food, but I don't know how to transport it to West Blue. I know a way to help you transport food." Just then, a strange voice suddenly sounded in the room. A woman with long golden hair and glasses suddenly appeared in the room. Seeing the appearance of the person, Guillaume exclaimed, "Khalifa." Guillaume knew Khalifa because she met the secretary of this iceberg when she went to Water City to receive the warship a year ago. Khalifa showed a smile after a prank, and then laughed happily. "No, I'm Nicole." This Khalifa spoke with a lisp, and his pronunciation was not clear at all. "Nico, you're back." Jera saw through the identity of the Khalifa in front of her at a glance. Nico, the girl Wu Ming called the world's strongest spy. A girl who has lived for more than 200 years, Nico, is also the only special existence who can ignore all kinds of seals and barriers. Nico left Ixtal 100 years ago, and Jaira didn't expect that she would come back at this critical moment. Nico. Hearing this name, Kiana suddenly realized. 10,000 flowers summoning Nico. This name is also a legend in Ixtal. She is called the Witch of Change. It is said that she's the only one who combines the bloodline factors of paramecia and the ability of the fantasy beast system. Calipha's figure twisted, and a short half-orc girl with a long lizard tail appeared in front of everyone. Jaira, long time no see. Nico greeted with a smile. Jaira also excitedly pounced on Nico, then hugged her in her arms and ravaged her, and shouted excitedly, "Nico, you are finally willing to come back." Others looked at this scene with a confused look on their faces. After the two finished playing, Nico remembered the business at this time. Nico explained, 170 years ago, the Master left a special technology in Water City that can change the world's transportation system. It is called Hex Teleportation Flying Gate. It can instantly transport any items on a large scale over an unlimited distance. Jera narrowed her eyes and asked, "Did the saint tell you this news?" Nico shook her head. "No. It was a soul friend who told me this news." Hearing this, Jera nodded in understanding, and she did not doubt Nico's words. Nico has a special ability, which is to be able to communicate with the souls around her. In other words, anyone who appears around Nico, King Nua, has no secrets in front of her. I was playing in Water City before, and a soul friend told me this secret, and then another soul friend told me that the seal of Ixtal was lifted. So I came back to take a look, and then I saw such an interesting scene. After Nico finished explaining the whole story, she looked at Kazan curiously. "Ice Heart, this heart doesn't belong to you. Oh, it was given to you by a man called Han Foam. He is so kind to you. This is a rare treasure. It seems that you are also a very important chess piece of the Master. You are even the Marshal of the New Marine. It turns out that you are the Marine trader. I seem to have seen you at the naval headquarters before, but you were so cold that I didn't dare to approach you. My name is Nico. Nice to meet you. Wow, Guillaume, you actually met the Master 20 years ago. This is amazing. I have been looking for him for more than 100 years and couldn't find him. And you actually warmed the Master's bed? Unbelievable. Can you share your feelings at that time?" Nico was talking to herself like a lunatic. But what he said made Kuzan and Guillaume shudder. The secrets deep in their hearts were dug out by the other party in this short time. Kazan, whose face was as dark as ink, almost exploded and attacked, and even Guillaume next to him put his hand on the handle of his knife without a word. Jera hurriedly said, "Nico, don't chat with other people's souls without permission. It's very rude." Nico listened, nodded depressedly, and then muttered, "But I like to make friends with their souls." Nico likes to trade with souls because in such exchanges, both parties will not hide anything from each other. So Nico thinks this is the normal way of communication between people. Chapter 89. Poor Chi. Such an evil woman is the Marine Admiral. In the eyes of Kazan and Guillaume, Nico is very strange, not like a normal person at all. The normal person here does not refer to ordinary people, but to the spiritual aspect. Guillaume asked speechlessly, "So, we have to go to the Water City? And then go find the so-called Hextech Flying Gate. God knows how long it will take to find that thing. By the time we find it, maybe more than half of the people in West Blue have starved to death." Vivi said beside, "I can send our country's transport ships to smuggle food to West Blue first, but the Hextech Flying Gate must be found. When the world government finds something wrong, it will definitely investigate where the food in West Blue comes from, and then our route will definitely be hit. Perhaps because of the influence of the Sataka fruit, or perhaps because Vivi has long been dissatisfied with the world government. Vivi is very active this time, even willing to help Kazan and others for free." Hearing this, Kazan thanked with gratitude. "Then I'll trouble you, Queen Vivi." Vivi waved her hand casually and said, "You're welcome. After all, we are on the same boat." Alabasta couldn't stay out of it, especially when she wanted to get the legacy left by the saint. That's why Vivi was so active in helping Kazan. After all, with the new Marine in front, Alabasta would be much safer. Guillaume decided, "Then it's decided. After we go back, we will go to the Water City to find the Hextech flying door technology. Can you take me with you? Ixtal Seal is finally gone, and I also want to go out and experience it." Kiana looked at Kazan with eagerness. Before Kazan spoke, Guillaume hurriedly said, "Of course, no problem. After all, this dwarf is the sponsor of a new marine, and Guillaume is afraid that Kuzan, this unkind guy, will offend 367 people. Kiana happily announced, "Okay, it's a happy decision. If you want to go to the Water City, I have something to trouble you with." Vivi looked at Guillaume seriously. Vivi said, "I'm going to a place, and I need someone who knows Chinese characters." Guillaume frowned. She wanted to solve the food problem of West Blue first. But considering that Alabasta's transport ship was very important, Guillaume asked, "Where to?" "Vivi, Icathia." Hearing this name, Kiana and Nico's faces changed, and Jella exclaimed in horror, "What? Where are you going?" Vivi, who didn't know what was going on, said again, "Icathia, a certain area in the west of Alabasta." Kiana looked at Vivi with a look of, "You're crazy. You're going to Icathia? Are you crazy?" At this time, even if Vivi was so slow, she realized that something was wrong. The west of Alabasta is indeed a desert with no people. The population of Alabasta is mainly distributed in the north and south. The more you go to the east and west, the fewer people there are. The east is a little better, but the west is definitely a real no man's land. But the no man's land of ordinary people is not good for them. Demon fruit for power is not necessarily an uninhabited area. "Is there any danger in Icathia?" Vivi asked doubtfully. Jella looked at Vivi with deep eyes and sighed. "It seems that you really don't know Icathia at all." "If he knew Icathia, he wouldn't say such a thing," Kiana said sarcastically beside him. Guillaume asked curiously, "So, Icathia is dangerous in your mouth?" Jella nodded, then looked at Vivi with a complicated expression, with some reminiscence in her eyes. Icathia was originally not dangerous, but the saint once did a taboo experiment there, causing Icathia to become a Jedi now. It is said that due to the loss of control of the taboo experiment, the group of ascenders who followed the saint died in that incident, and even turned into terrible monsters. Guillaume asked curiously, "What taboo experiment?" Jella, "It's about the void." "The void?" The people who didn't know how powerful looked at Jella in confusion. Jella said, "Yes, it is the void. When I followed the master casually mentioned that there is a void outside the world, and they can accommodate everything and assimilate everything. In that experiment, the master accidentally opened the door of the void. Although the door of the void was closed in the end, the influx of the void power still infected the group of ascenders. Why is Icathia dangerous? Since the problem of the void has been solved by the saints." Vivi asked puzzledly. Jella sighed. "Because there is still residual void power there." Hearing this, Vivi's pupils shrank, and she instantly lost the idea of going to Icathia. Although the ascenders are tempting, the risk is too great. As the leader of a country, Vivi dare not gamble. Vivi sighed with some regret. "Forget it. I originally wanted to go there to find the power of the ascenders to protect Alabasta, but now it seems that I am too idealistic." Jella warned seriously. "Icathia is a forbidden place. No matter what the reason is, it's best not to go there. That's the advice my master gave me, and I'm telling you now." Vivi nodded. Seeing that Vivi had given up the idea of going to Icathia, Guillaume was relieved. If Vivi was really determined to go, then she had no choice but to go with her for the sake of the people of West Blue. Guillaume couldn't wait to ask, "So we're going to the Water City next?" "Let's go to the Water City." Kazan nodded, then turned his eyes to Vivi. "It takes too much time to go by boat, so Queen Vivi may need to accompany us." Okay. Vivi nodded and agreed to Kazan's request. After all, Alabasta had nothing to deal with at the moment, and as a benevolent monarch, Vivi didn't want to see the people of West Blue starve to death. Grand Line Long Chain Island, a short middle-aged man was lying on the ground like a pug, with his tongue stretched out long, licking the sole of Ace high heels flatteringly. This person was Foxy, the leader of the West Blue Pirates, who had eaten the paramecia slow fruit. Ace, holding the dog chain in his hand, looked at Foxy, who had lost his personality and will, with disdain. Another person was domesticated into a dog, and Ace enjoyed the process very much, but it was just a process. The slow fruit, this fruit that can even involve time, has been developed into this by you. It's a waste. It's a waste that you can only live like this, Ace commented disdainfully. Not far from Foxy, Porchy looked at Ace with horror. She witnessed with her own eyes how her captain's will was broken step by step, and then he was domesticated into a dog. The important person turned out to be the Marine Admiral. At this moment, Porchy felt that her identity as a pirate was not worth it. Who is the bad guy? Okay, the game is over. Ace kicked Foxy, who had no will to resist, to the underworld, but Ace didn't think Foxy would start a new life in the underworld. Because after her training, this guy should have no obsession with the real world. Pop! Porky fell to his knees. Porky shouted in horror, "Please let me go. I can do anything." Porky had made a decision in her heart. If Ace was interested in her, she would commit suicide without hesitation. Porky, who witnessed the change of her captain, knew too well what a devil this woman was. "From now on, you are my subordinate. Be a lieutenant junior grade on my ship first," Ace said. Porky, who survived the disaster, shouted excitedly, "Yes." For this scene, the Marine soldiers around were no longer surprised. They had seen their Marine Admiral's bad hobbies several times before. Any pirate she encountered, as long as he did evil, basically had the same fate as Foxy. Looking at Foxy's body, Ace said with disgust, "It's a pity for this slow fruit." "Okay." Ace clapped his hands and then ordered, "Adjutant, let's go. Go find the next toy." The adjutant next to him wiped the cold sweat from his forehead with his hand and then quickly took out the document and reported, "Sir, Marshal Sengoku asked you to return and—" The adjutant looked at Ace cautiously, then gritted his teeth and said resignedly, "And Marshal Sengoku has a lot of opinions about your practice of not leaving any survivors." "What do you mean?" Ace asked casually. Ace didn't care whether Sengoku had any opinions about him. After all, even if he had, he could only talk. The adjutant explained, "Marshal Sengoku said that the pirates with the power of the fruit should be captured and taken to impel down." "Forget it. Let's return to the ship if that's the case." Ace waved his hand helplessly with some hesitation, and then added, "By the way, let the people below divide the seized treasures." The adjutant reminded carefully, "Sir, the treasures seized from the pirates must be handed over." Ace listened and said without hesitation, "This is my trophy. Why should I hand it over? I said I would divide it, so I divided it." "Yes." The adjutant received the order in horror, but his tone was full of joy that could not be concealed. After all, not all Marines come for love, they also desire wealth. Chapter 90, New Admiral Greenbull, Vice Admiral Tashiji. 2 days later, Naval Headquarters. In the meeting room of Naval Headquarters, Sengoku roared angrily, loudly venting his dissatisfaction with a new admiral. "Too much. Too much. What does Ace think of Marines? Bullies on the sea? What's the difference between that and pirates? It's okay to kill those who don't have devil fruit abilities. After all, those scums are dead, but those demon fruit powers are different. Their devil fruit is a scourge, and if it drifts to the sea, it will only create more evil thieves." Doesn't he even understand this? Kizaru was still playing with his fingernails there leisurely as before. Akainu didn't care, and even nodded when he heard Sengoku's team Ace cursing. He was very satisfied with Ace's cruel approach. "We're pirates. They're a bunch of scum on the sea. No, those beasts are just a bunch of scum. Not even scum. If such scum is caught, if they're not killed, will they be kept for the new year? What did Ace do wrong? He just wanted to clean up the garbage on the sea." If he didn't have to compete for the position of Marine Admiral, Akainu would even want to applaud and praise Ace for doing a good job. He had some opinions about Ace before, but now Akainu said that Ace is the real Marine Admiral, just like himself. Thinking of this, Akainu glanced at Kizuru, who was paddling next to him, and Garp, who was picking his nose with disdain. When he becomes Marine Admiral, he must suppress the bad habits of these two guys. After venting some words, Sengoku, who was out of breath, announced again, "The latest order from the world government has come down, and it has decided to arrest the new Marine." No one in the meeting room expressed any opinions on this matter. It's not surprising that the world government did such a thing. After all, the new Marines are anti-government just by their existence. Then there is the appointment of Marine Admirals. Next, let's welcome the 4th Marine Admiral, Aramaki. Aramaki, who was named by Sengoku, stood up and introduced himself. Hello, colleagues, I am Aramaki, codenamed Green Bull. Akainu looked at Aramaki with admiration. Although he had only known Aramaki for less than 2 days, he had already figured out Aramaki's personality. This guy is more hawkish than himself. In a sense, he is a pervert like Ace. Of course, this refers to personality and mental state. As for actual experience, originally, there was no strength ranking for Marine Admirals, but there was one after Aramaki joined. Because Aramaki was at the bottom, the first place must be aced, and the remaining 2 or 3 places don't matter. Sengoku looked at Aramaki worriedly. Aramaki, the Marine Admiral, was personally appointed by the world government. This is not because Aramaki is strong, but because his ideas are too much in line with the taste of the world government. An extreme racist who pursues death justice and strongly supports the world government and celestial dragons. He believes that people of the 10 types of Wanakuni who are not members of the world government do not deserve equal rights. In Aramaki's view, humans have survived to this day by stepping on species that are lower than themselves, and non-member countries are equivalent to lower. Only by stepping on non-member countries can people live with peace of mind, and discrimination is equivalent to peace of mind. Yes, the world government just took a fancy to Aramaki's support for celestial dragons and the world government. Aramaki himself is also a Logia demon fruit power, and his strength level is enough. Even if Sengoku has any opinions, he has to suppress them in his heart. Akainu took the initiative to ask, Green Bull Admiral, what do you think of the current situation in the world? The time travelers are ambitious to overthrow the rule of the world government. We Marines should crack down on this behavior. And Aramaki glanced at everyone in the meeting very seriously, and then said solemnly, I think that in addition to arresting pirates, the Marines should also provide certain protection to the member states of the world government. As for those non-member states of the world government, those people have no human rights at all and do not deserve the protection of the Marine. As soon as Aramaki said this, the atmosphere in the entire conference room instantly became cold. There are indeed many scums in the Marine, but among the senior executives of the naval headquarters, some of them are kind and lawful. Aramaki's proposal can be said to be right-wing to the ultimate. Is this guy CP0? Door Vice Admiral curled his lips with a bit of contempt in his tone. Celestial dragons are supreme? Aren't these the brainwashed people trained by the CP organization? With the strength of everyone in the conference room, Door's whisper is almost the same as shouting. Hearing this, Huangmu's face turned cold, and then he said disdainfully, Human rights are for the people of the world government. Non-world government member countries and other subraces are not worthy of human rights. Huangmu's words were obviously deliberately aimed at Door, because Door is a long-legged tribe. Besides, who allowed you to talk to your superiors like this? Huangmu's voice fell before he started to act brazenly. The middle finger of his right hand quickly became wooden and long, stabbing at Door like a long sword. Door's face changed in the face of this sudden attack. Door didn't expect Huangmu, the new admiral, to be so fierce that he dared to act directly in the conference room, and so suddenly and so quickly. Although the other party had no intention of killing, but just wanted to scratch her face, it was enough to be called a great rebellion. Crack! Ace suddenly appeared in the conference room at an extremely cold temperature, holding the ice rose sword and cut off Aramaki's wooden thorns with one knife. Ace, who had just returned, chose to take action. Ace asked casually, when can the Marine Admiral directly attack the Marine Vice Admiral? Then can I compete with Garp in the conference room? Looking at Ace, who suddenly appeared in the conference room, the Vice Admiral and Rear Admiral in the conference room were nervous again. This is also a restless master, and more restless than Aramaki. He wants to confront the Marine hero Garp right away. It's even more outrageous than Aramaki, who has the world government as his backer. I storm Admiral Ace. Aramaki looked at Ace expressionlessly. Ace asked jokingly, are you the new admiral? Yes. Aramaki nodded coldly. She always felt that there was something wrong with this woman. It was fine if she suddenly stopped herself, but why did this woman look at her with such a burning gaze? Ace looked at Aramaki with burning eyes and said, "Too interesting. Human rights? I really want to see you train like a good dog." The adjutant who followed him twitched his mouth slightly. He knew that his chief was not joking, but he didn't dare to say it or even express his opinion. Ace directly pulled out the chair next to Marshal Sengoku and sat down. Seeing Ace's actions, Sengoku's mouth twitched slightly. He wanted to say something but stopped, but finally chose to remain silent. Seeing this scene, Suru also sighed. The chair used to be taken by the 3 admirals of the Marine in turn, because the chair represented the position of the candidate for the Marine Marshal. After sitting down, Ace warned slowly, "Door is my man. If you dare to touch my man next time, be careful that your legs will be broken." Everyone who heard this looked at Door again with subtle eyes. That look seemed to ask Door, when did you become the man of the new admiral? In fact, Door herself was a little confused, but considering that only Ace helped her just now, Door did not refute. Aramaki obviously wanted to establish his authority today, and she just ran into the muzzle of the gun. If Ace had not helped, she would have been the one who was killed today to scare the monkeys. After warning Aramaki, Ace asked again, "Marshal Sengoku, why don't you ask me what I think of Marine?" Sengoku, who was furious, suppressed his anger. First, Aramaki didn't give him face and attacked a vice admiral in the office, and then Ace Des openly formed a clique in the meeting room. Sengoku wanted to curse. "I'm not dead yet. Are you guys so impatient to form cliques? Aramaki, if you attack your colleagues without reason, I'll deduct 10 months' salary from you." Ace. Sengoku originally wanted to use Ace as a scapegoat, but Sengoku finally chose to let Ace go. The reason is very simple. First, Ace's strength is too strong. Sengoku even suspects that Ace's strength is about the same as the enhanced Kazan. He can replace 2 of the 4 with 1, which means that Ace can almost fight naval headquarters alone now. This is the real Buddha. Even if he ate the Buddha fruit, Sengoku said that he dared not touch this Buddha. Second, Ace only stopped Aramaki from breaking the rules, which did not constitute a fault at all. As a vegetative person, Aramaki, who has low material needs, did not take the matter of salary deduction to heart. Sengoku did not ask Ace's view of the current situation because he couldn't figure out the rhythm of the psychopath in front of him. By the way, there is one more thing to announce. Sengoku continued, this time with a bit of relief and excitement in his tone. In addition to appointing an admiral today, I will also appoint a vice admiral. Although her strength does not meet the requirements of a vice admiral, she is a rare translator on the sea. So I decided to appoint him as vice admiral and then join the general staff. Next, let Marine Chief of Staff Crane introduce this colleague to us. Crane smiled and took the hand of the girl next to him and said, Tashiji was originally a Marine captain. He is now promoted to Marine Vice Admiral and serves on my general staff. Tashiji stood up a little nervously and then introduced himself. Hello, officers. I am Tashiji. Please give me more advice in the future. Seeing such a young Tashiji, the people in the conference room did not have any aversion. After all, Marshal Sengoku said that Tashiji is a special talent and a special translation talent. This is almost clear. The girl in front of him, like Guion, is someone who can read Chinese characters. Is it too much to give such a person a nominal position of Marine Vice Admiral? Not at all. Now in this sea, people who can read Chinese characters are very popular. If they are willing to join the world government, their current official position may be higher than those present. Can you translate Chinese characters? Aramaki asked casually in an affirmative tone. Tashiji nodded nervously. Yes, Green Bull Admiral. Tashiji is indeed afraid of this new admiral, because compared to other Marine admirals, this Green Bull Admiral is obviously much more brutal. He dared to attack a Marine Vice Admiral in the meeting room of the Marine headquarters. Even for a Marine Admiral, this approach is too much. I have a notebook with Chinese characters here. Can you help me translate it? Aramaki threw a notebook in front of Tashiji. Aramaki's behavior can be said to be arrogant. If it were Guion, the two would probably have started fighting now. But now the person in front of him is the Marine rookie Tashiji. Tashiji carefully picked up the notebook on the table. Tashigi also knew the reason why she could become a vice admiral. In fact, she didn't want to work in the naval headquarters, but Marshal Sengoku personally ordered it, so she had to come to the naval headquarters. This notebook is in the box of the Mori Mori fruit that I found. At that time, this notebook and the Mori Mori fruit were placed together. Aramaki explained. Shall I start translating now? Tashigi asked. Yes. Aramaki nodded. Chapter 91. The story that the user of Sage Body and the Mori Mori fruit must tell. Natural energy experiment begins. Basic materials are Logia Mori Mori fruit, users Mori Mori fruit users. Although it was an accidental discovery of the Mori Mori fruit users of this era, it was also an unexpected gain. Hearing this familiar tone and this familiar content, Kizuru looked a little more uncomfortable. He remembered that the previous host of Sparkling Fruit seemed to be destroyed in this way. Aramaki said thoughtfully, "This notebook was indeed left by that evil time traveler, but why did he leave the devil fruit there? Ha ha, that's good. This may be the destiny of the world government. Let me get the devil fruit left by the time traveler, and then help the world government defeat the evil time traveler. This is destiny." Aramaki laughed excitedly. Ace desk next to him had a blank expression on his face and even wanted to laugh in his heart. If the guess is right, this unlucky child should also be a chess piece, and a chess piece that must be discarded after use. What is it for? Es de tucht fuli. Tashigi didn't dare to reply, and could only continue to serve as a translator. First of all, it is the photosynthesis of plants. I didn't expect that the user of the Morisin fruit could use this feature perfectly. The natural element used by the user of the Morisin fruit should correspond to the wood element, and the plants created by the user of the Morisin fruit are alive. Why do I suddenly feel that this Morisin fruit is a bit heaven-defying? Aramaki cursed with a gloomy face. This damn time traveler. Why don't you make it clearer? Ace Des listened and smiled disdainfully. You can get the diary because of that person's calculation, and it's a discarded pawn. How could he let you get actual benefits through the notebook? Looking at the user of the Mori-sun fruit in front of me, I suddenly had a bold idea. Deaf. Everyone present held their breath instantly, and everyone looked at Tashigi and the notebook in his hand nervously. When this sentence appeared, it meant that the time traveler would do something extremely heaven-defying. Sengoku urged with a fiery look. Tashigi, quick, translate the following content. Tashigi nodded. As the user of the Logia Devil Fruit, I should correspond to the earth and the 5 elements. Then can I study the bloodline factor of this user? Then make the earth reproduce wood, so as to obtain the ability of the Mori Mori fruit? As long as I succeed this time, I can continue to complete the next reference elements, and then evolve the Logia Devil Fruit into the Heaven and Earth Fruit. Kizuru said with a confused look. The Logia Devil Fruit can be developed like this? Even Akainu was a little confused. He knew every word that Tashigi translated, but why did he not recognize it after combining them together? People clearly put this secret in front of them, but they still knew nothing. Ixt, Akainu frowned and said in a deep voice, "So we're the 5 elements? What does my lava fruit represent?" The sun fruit seems to represent what? That time traveler said it. The so-called 5 elements advancement is very important, especially under the premise that the 3 admirals of Marine are all Logia fruit users. Kizaru's unserious face showed some expectation for the first time. Tashigi, is there any description of the 5 elements later? Tashigi nodded. The so-called 5 elements correspond to gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. So I have to find Logia's iron fruit, Maramara fruit, and the water fruit that may not exist. Maramara fruit does have a substitute, such as lava fruit. But whether the water fruit exists is another matter. After all, the devil fruit in this world is hated by the sea. Theoretically, the water fruit should not be born. Gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. Kizaru lowered his head and thought. Good news. My sparkling fruit is not in the entrepreneur's goal. Bad news. His sparkling fruit is not in the 5 elements of gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. At this time, the wisest Crane was the calmest. Crane sighed. This is an incredible secret, but unfortunately, it doesn't mean much to us. After all, not everyone has the divine talent of a time traveler. A time traveler can obtain the abilities of other fruit ability users through this method, but others can't. For example, Aramaki now has the Sun-Sin fruit, but so what? He can't eat another yin-yin fruit. As for the bloodline factor of the fusion fruit ability user, don't be funny. If this method is feasible, the world government would have been able to lead the army long ago. Tashiji, continue translating. Crane urged. This kind of unrealistic thing, Crane does not want anyone in Marine to pursue, because this way of advancement cannot be replicated at all. Akainu lowered his head in thought, with a bit of unwillingness in his eyes. Aramaki had a blank expression on his face, and it was hard to guess what he was thinking. The Mori Mori fruit should be the most suitable for farming, no exaggeration. If the Mori Mori fruit ability user goes to farm, I'm afraid he can feed an ocean by himself. Aramaki, facing the gazes of everyone, Aramaki said blankly, "Fake. I can't do it. Can he feed an island? Feed an ocean? Don't be funny. Even if he is exhausted to death, he can't do it." Ace asked heartbreakingly, "Is it the person who can't do it, or the fruit?" Aramaki, FK. What does this woman mean? Aramaki looked at Ace with a cold look. What do you mean by people are not good enough? Do you really think that you can become an admiral directly after eating Logia devil fruit? That depends on development. Aramaki, can become an admiral with Logia devil fruit, which has proved that the people who come to me are fine. Aramaki wanted to curse, but he didn't dare, because he had already understood the characteristics of the current admiral a day ago. Ace Des is undoubtedly the strongest admiral. Facing a person stronger than himself, even an extreme person like Akainu knows how to stay calm, let alone Aramaki. Aramaki said stubbornly, "Anyway, I can't do it. Any fruit ability needs physical strength to activate. If someone can do it, I dare not imagine how strong his physical strength is." Everyone nodded, thinking about it. It makes sense. Devil fruit is not omnipotent. After all, it takes physical strength and energy to activate devil fruit ability. Very good. Although I accidentally killed the user of the Sun-Sin fruit, it was not without gain. I finally discovered natural energy. What does this mean? This means that the city and county governments are one step closer to his grave. Everyone did not care about the life and death of the previous generation of the Sun fruit user. They were just curious about something important now. That is, what exactly is natural energy? What is natural energy? The energy that is ubiquitous in nature is called natural energy. Normally, natural energy should exist in every world, but it is just a matter of more or less. Zero after discovering natural energy. The next thing will be much easier. The manufacturing plan of Jella, Chui Shun, and Maogai has started. Based on the bloodline factor of the Sun fruit user, 3 people will be born under my command who have the opportunity to impact the strong above the admiral level. Above the admiral level, hearing this, the people who recalled the times broke into silence. Some people had a bit of expectation on their faces, and some people had a bit of loneliness on their faces. The expectation was for those who were young and energetic, and the loneliness was for those who were old and weak. Marshal Sengoku, is there really a strong person above the admiral level in the world? Tashiji couldn't help but ask curiously. Hearing this, Sengoku's expression was complicated, and then he slowly shook his head and said, "As far as I know, there is no one. Anyway, I haven't seen one. Even as powerful as Rox is only at the peak of the admiral level, which is also within the range of humans." With a flickering look, Garp silently lowered his head. Now he's probably the only one in the entire Marine who has seen a strong person above the admiral level. Thinking of that terrifying blow, Garp's body couldn't help but tremble. No matter how many times he recalled it, that terrifying blow was like a nightmare that made people hard to let go. Only at that time did Garp realize how insignificant he was. In front of the existence above the admiral level, even an existence like him at the top of the admiral level was just a slightly stronger ant. At this time, he suddenly said, if there's really someone who can go and see the scenery above admiral, then this person should be Ace. His tone was full of expectation. Ace was the most talented person he had ever seen. At a young age, he had the strength of the peak of admiral level. If Ace could break through further in the next 20 years, maybe he could really see the scenery above. If Ace failed to break through in the next 20 years, then she would never be able to do so in this life, unless he could find a way to live forever. This is the sadness of this world. Everyone has their own peak period. Once it passes, it is impossible to climb to the top again. Aramu looked at Ace with some fear. Ace 3.6 is the youngest of the 4 admirals. His youth makes people despair, and it is also difficult for people to feel jealous. Garp said leisurely, "If the 3 people mentioned by the Traverser are really created, then the problem will be big." Hearing this, everyone in the conference room fell silent again. Tashigi saw that the atmosphere was a little awkward, so he could only bite the bullet and continue to translate. After in-depth research on natural abilities, relying on the talent of God, I created a new practice method, which I named Natural Breathing Method. Those who practice the Natural Breathing Method can transform their bodies into Sage Body. The so-called Sage Body is a body with almost infinite physical strength and immortality. The most important thing is that Sage Body can enhance the ability of the Mori Mori fruit. After combining the two, it may be a bit exaggerated to say that the Mori Mori fruit ability user can feed the entire world, but it is no problem to feed a sea. Aramaki's breathing became a little rapid. Natural Breathing Method. Sage Body. If he can obtain the Natural Breathing Method, does it mean that he is qualified to see the scenery above Admiral? Get it. Must get it. Get it at all costs. Aramaki, with red eyes, stared at the notebook in Tashiji's hand. Chapter 92. Robin. With my background, you're threatening me with Buster Call? The Natural Breathing Method is simply a gift from God. With red eyes, Aramaki asked impatiently, "What's next? What's the practice method?" Seeing this scene, Ace's mouth corners slightly raised, and a disdainful sneer flashed across his face. If the notebook contains the Natural Breathing Method, Ace is willing to eat the notebook. In fact, it is true. Tashigi shook her head nervously. Report, Admiral. There is no record of the practice method of the Natural Breathing Method. What? Aramaki's voice instantly increased by several decibels. Unwilling to accept this fact, Aramaki gritted his teeth. "You are lying to me, right?" "I'm telling the truth." Tashigi hurriedly shook his head to deny. Sengoku interrupted. "Aramaki, calm down for me. The owner of the diary does not have the habit of leaving practice methods in the notebook. The last time they heard the ice breathing method, they were also so excited, but the result was that everyone was disappointed." Aramaki gradually calmed down after hearing this. Aramaki said dejectedly, "Then please continue translating." Tashigi nodded and continued translating. After further improvements, I weakened the effectiveness of the intelligent breathing method, but also succeeded in making it more popular. How invincible is the Sun fruit? I used the power of the Sun fruit to create a permanent rainforest in the desert and named it Ixtal. Tashigi closed the book after translating to this point. Sengoku, who was a little unsatisfied, asked, "Is that all?" Tashigi nodded and reported, "No more." Saru frowned and said thoughtfully, "Ixtal, I seem to have heard of the name somewhere." Tashigi explained, "If I remember correctly, it seems to be a small country in the Grand Line, a nominal vassal of the kingdom of Ala 20buston. The reason why Tashigi knew about this country was because the Straw Hat crew she had been chasing before ran to Alabasta, so she made a special effort to learn about the Alabasta area at that time." Saru asked thoughtfully, "Alabasta? The country that was harmed by the sand crocodile?" Tashigi nodded. Sengoku asked, "Is Alabasta a member country?" Hearing this, Aramaki immediately gritted his teeth and said, "Damn sand crocodile. He actually dared to seize the member country of the world government. If I meet him in the future, I will definitely turn this BD into a dead crocodile." Saru added, "But Alabasta seems to be making a fuss about independence recently. They seem to want to withdraw from the world government." Hearing this, Aramaki's attitude changed again. "What? Withdraw from the world government? Is Alabasta crazy? The sand crocodile is one of the 7 warlords of the sea after all. Doesn't he just want to usurp the country? Anyway, Alabasta has ulterior motives, so it's better to let the sand crocodile succeed in usurping the country. At least that guy won't resist the world government. Everyone, everyone in the conference room looked at Aramaki in silence. They always felt that this admiral seemed a little schizophrenic. Even Ace, who was so aloof, was amused. Is this guy a clown? How come he changes his face faster than turning a page? Ace chuckled. Aramaki ignored Ace's malice and asked curiously, Ixtal, do you think Ixtal has natural breathing? It's possible, Sengoku said, touching his chin. Aramaki volunteered. Marshal, let me go to Alabasta. The reason why Aramaki wanted to go to Alabasta was definitely to learn the natural breathing method, and the second was to warn Alabasta not to have any other intentions. Alabasta, wouldn't it be better for the world government to step on you to reach the top? Why do you have to think so much? Aramaki whispered in his heart. Sengoku didn't express his opinion immediately after hearing this, but frowned and thought about it. Sengoku said, Okay, and then you can warn Alabasta, by the way, that it is not that simple for the member countries of the world government to join or withdraw. Aramaki nodded. Water City. The Straw Hat crew finally came to the Water City, which is called the World Dockyard. Everyone, you are all excellent shipbuilders, but to become more outstanding, just relying on technology is not enough. We also need stronger bodies. Come on, join the glorious evolution. Become a glorious transformer. Long live Victor. Long live the glorious evolution. A group of shipbuilders held up signs and shouted madly at the light blue shipbuilder on the podium. Nami looked at Frankie, who was surrounded by the crowd, speechlessly. What are these people doing? Chasing stars. Sanji's mouth twitched slightly, especially after seeing many beauties in the crowd. He complained sadly. Are all the stars in Water City so abstract? The blue-haired, middle-aged man on the stage can't even be described as ordinary. He is clearly ugly. As a result, this guy still has so many fans? Where is Justice? The hot girl next to him nodded in agreement. Indeed, this guy is not as good-looking as Usopp. Usopp, who was innocently shot, did not refute, but urged nervously. Don't watch the fun here. Have you forgotten our purpose? Mary is still waiting to be punished. At this time, a middle-aged man next to Nami suddenly said, You are outsiders, right? How do you know? Nami looked at the middle-aged man in front of her, who was hostile to her. The middle-aged man said, I heard it from your conversation just now. After saying this, the middle-aged man looked at Frankie on the stage with a burning gaze and said with admiration, That's Mr. Frankie, the legendary shipwright of the Water City. And most importantly, he is the disciple of the great mechanical pioneer. Okay, I won't talk to you about this. I have to go and queue up. The number of places for the field-level transformation is limited. After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he couldn't wait to squeeze through the crowd. It's inexplicable. Looking at the middle-aged man disappearing in the crowd, Nami curled her lips. Usopp, who caught the point, said excitedly, Wait, that guy named Frankie seems to be a legendary shipbuilder? He must be able to repair the Mary, right? After Usopp finished speaking, he followed the middle-aged man and squeezed into the crowd together. Really? Shouldn't we find Carrera Company to repair the ship? That is the shipbuilding company of the world government and the largest shipbuilding company in the world. Nami complained depressedly. Sanji sighed. Usopp must be too worried about the Mary, and now he is a little anxious to agree. At the same time, on the other side of the Water City, Robin, who was walking alone on his shoulder, was suddenly bumped by a child. After the child went away, Robin looked down at the note in his hand, hesitated for a moment, and still followed the instructions of the note to a dim alley. A cold voice sounded from the dark alley. Devil's Son Nico Robin, if you don't want the darkness in you to affect the Straw Hat crew, I advise you to follow us honestly. Robin's face changed when he heard this, and he asked in horror, Who are you? Rob Lucci said, CP9. Robin's body was frightened and stiff, and his body was shaking constantly. What to do? Rob Lucci said again, If you don't follow me, the only thing waiting for the Straw Hat crew is Buster Call. Robin's pupils shrank when he heard this, and he recalled the fear dominated by those 3 words again. Originally, Robin was ready to surrender, but soon Robin reacted. Robin plucked up his courage and said, "This time, my companions are stronger and more well-connected than O'Hara. I'm not afraid of Buster Call." What a joke. How strong is the Buster Call that you, a mere CP9, can launch? 1 admiral, 5 vice admirals, and 10 warships? Is it that strong? Have you asked my aunt? Ace's behind me? Have you asked Arrow on the ship? Have you asked the Marine hero Garp? Have you asked the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Dragon? Have you asked my uncle? No exaggeration or slander. In terms of background, it is really hard to imagine who in the entire ocean is more well-connected than the Straw Hat Pirates. Huh? Rob Lucci looked at Robin in surprise. Who dared to resist? Rob Lucci asked in disbelief. "Aren't you afraid of Buster Call?" Robin, no. Rob Lucci, why not? Robin, no, I'm not afraid. After Robin finished speaking, he directly activated the ability of Flower Flower Fruit to disrupt Rob Lucci's vision, and then took the opportunity to escape. Six-style shaving. Rob Lucci instantly stood in front of Robin, sneering disdainfully. "With your strength, 780 also wants to escape in front of me? If you cooperate obediently, I can still let Straw Hat Crew go if..." Looking at Rob Lucci in front of him, Robin nervously took 2 steps back, then put his hands to his mouth and shouted like a trumpet, "Inel! Help!" Robin's voice was loud, but Rob Lucci didn't care. Call for help? With the current strength of Straw Hat Crew, the entire Straw Hat Pirates tied together are not enough for him to fight with his own hands. "You'd better follow me obediently." Before Rob Lucci finished speaking, the sky suddenly exploded. Boom! A thunderbolt fell from the sky. Feeling the fatal danger, Rob Lucci quickly used six-style shaving to leave the place instantly. Boom! The place originally occupied by Rob Lucci instantly had a big pit, and there was also a figure in the sky. Enel looked at him with contempt and said jokingly, "What do you want to do to Robin?" What are you? The ability just now? Thunderfruit? Rob Lucci asked simply. Enel nodded contemptuously. "It seems that you, an ant, have some knowledge." Rob Lucci, with cold sweat on his forehead, asked, "Are you also a member of the Straw Hat Pirates?" Enel said, "Of course, although I don't want to be the nanny of these guys, I still like the atmosphere on the ship, so they are indeed my companions." Rob Lucci had a blank expression on his face, but his eyes were looking around. He had already started to think about how to retreat. Thunderfruit is called the strongest devil fruit in Logia. Rob Lucci didn't think he would be the opponent of the man in front of him, although he was called the strongest and coldest killing weapon of CP9 in history, and was known as the strongest in Eni's Lobby CP9 in 800 years. But how much water is there in this statement? I can only say that those who understand, understand. Spandam is just talking nonsense. It's okay if others believe it, but he can't believe it. Rob Lucci is very clear about his own strength. His strength is at most Marine Vice Admiral in the Marine, and even he is not even an Admiral candidate. But the guy in front of him is at least Marine Admiral level. Chapter 93. Miracles Created by Non-Saints. Want to escape? Enel asked with his head tilted. Rob Lucci did not speak, but answered Enel's question with practical actions. Rob Lucci disappeared instantly, and Rob Lucci, whose fingers covered armament hockey, pierced Enel's chest. Six Styles finger pistol. Ridiculous. Thunder spear. Enel raised his right hand high, and a thunder spear condensed instantly. Boom! Rob Lucci, who had just arrived in front of Enel, was directly chopped away by the spear before he could make the next move. Rob Lucci, with a large area of charred chest, disappeared on the spot with the help of smoke. Rob Lucci's escape route did not escape Enel's mind, but Enel did not continue to chase him because he found that Rob Lucci was about to meet up with his companions. With his strength, he would definitely not be able to take down the group of people in a short time, and there was also this burden on the left side, so it would be unwise to chase him rashly. Enel turned around and asked, "Are you okay?" Robin nodded blankly, looking at the long-eared man in front of her. Robin felt relieved. She was no longer the girl who was running around and was in a state of panic. She had an aunt who was now a Marine Admiral. She also had a companion, and her strength was also a Marine Admiral. Robin also knew who was responsible for all this. Luffy? No. All of this was because of the uncle-in-law whom she had never met. Enel said, Let's go. Let's go back to the Mary first. Robin nodded. When the two returned to the port, Enel saw from a distance that there was a mysterious man next to the Mary. It was a mysterious man with no skin exposed on his body. He was wearing a golden exoskeleton armor and looked like a mechanical man. Hey, what are you doing in front of Lousie's ship? Enel asked aggressively. Victor, nothing. I just want to see what a door looks like if it is not a miracle created by a saint. Hearing the title of saint, Enel and Robin frowned in confusion and then thought at the same time. Has this person in front of us come into contact with my uncle, saint? The respect in Victor's tone has already pointed out his position, and the only one who can use the honorific title is himself. Enel asked curiously, Have you seen a saint? Victor nodded proudly. I am one of the great masterpieces of the saint. You don't look like a normal person. Enel narrowed his eyes and said meaningfully. Victor said in a low voice, Now, there is no flesh and blood on my body except for my head. Robin said, Cyborg. Victor nodded and then corrected, I would rather you call me an evolver. Evolution. Neither of them understood what Victor meant by this, but instead felt a little strange. Victor asked back, Humans have evolved from flesh and blood to steel bodies. Isn't this a kind of evolution? Robin, this kind of evolution is not beautiful. Robin took a step back and quietly distanced the two sides. In Robin's eyes, the guy in front of him was obviously not normal. He transformed his body into a mechanical body and called it evolution. If this is not a psychopath, what is it? Looking at the entire ocean, no one has become a strong man by transforming himself into a robot. Ignorance. Victor, who saw Robin's actions, commented coldly. You don't seem to care much about your miracle. This is the note left by the saint. I hope you can protect this hard-won miracle after reading it. Victor threw a notebook to Enel and left the port without looking back. He had just scanned the entire Mary, and the data that should be collected had been collected. It would be a waste of time to stay here and chat with this group of ignorant people. Looking at Victor's back as he left, Enel gritted his teeth and said, What a proud guy, but he gives me a dangerous feeling. Luo Bien, who was standing next to him, listened and looked at Enel in surprise. Enel might not know how proud he was, but how could the victims not know? There is only one possibility for Enel to evaluate him as a dangerous guy. That is, the cyborg named Victor, whose combat power was at least at the admiral level. This world is getting crazier and crazier. There are actually people who have become admiral-level warriors by transforming themselves. AI Chuan thought in disbelief. That person is not only an admiral-level warrior. If we only talk about destruction, he may even burst out the destructive power of a warrior above the admiral. A voice came from a distance and suddenly came from above the two people's heads. A white seagull was standing on the bow of the Mary, and the voice just now was made by the white seagull. After Nico finished speaking, she couldn't help but exclaimed, It's incredible. A ship actually has its own soul. Seeing this white seagull, Enel calmly took it in front of Robin. Demon fruit power, Nico explained. Don't worry, I have no ill will towards you. I'm making friends with this ship now. It said that you're all good people and asked me not to hurt you. Were you kidding? Feeling that he was teased, Enel laughed in anger. How could a ship have a soul? This guy is so weird, and you could tell at a glance that he is not a good person. What do you mean he won't hurt himself? Do you think you can beat me? And a psychopath named Victor just now. Enel was a little excited at the moment, even excited. He found King Hai so wonderful that he had just come to King Hai not long ago and met two strong men who were similar to himself in succession. Nico didn't lie to you. Nico restored her original appearance and explained, I also know your friend. Her name is Vivi, but he should be here soon because I can fly, so I came here first. Wang Hao Hao. Hearing this name, Robin immediately asked with vigilance, Vivi? Why is she in Water City? Nico tilted her head and thought for a moment, then explained. It seems that she's here to find a Hextech flying door. What is that thing? Robin didn't know, but he knew that it might be a technology or an item. Nico doesn't know. Nico doesn't want to chat with you. I want to play with Mary. Nico obviously didn't want to pay attention to Robin and Enel. Enel wanted to take action, but was stopped by Robin next to him. Wait a minute, find out what this guy's purpose is, and now the other party is on the Mary. Fighting with her may damage the Mary. Robin said. Enel wanted to take action after hearing this, but he stopped. Robin added, I'll contact Luffy first. When Luffy and the others came back, it was almost night. Chapter 94. The Miracle Called Mary. Along with Luffy and the others came the shipwrights of Carrera Company. After an inspection, Mr. Iceberg announced with regret, the keel of this ship is damaged, and it is difficult to repair, but Mr. Iceberg glanced at the expectant crowd and said, you can go to the mechanical pioneer Victor. He has master mechanical technology that is 800 years ahead of this world. He should be able to repair your ship. Usopp said excitedly, 800 years ahead of the world in mechanical technology? Isn't that better than Vegapunk? If we only talk about physical technology, Mr. Victor is indeed better than that Vegapunk. Mr. Iceberg said. Then Mr. Iceberg added, but Mr. Victor's whereabouts have always been mysterious. We Song know that he has an underground base somewhere in Water City, but I don't know the exact location. If you want to repair this ship, you have to find him and convince Victor to help you. Hearing this, everyone was silent. Usopp shouted firmly, Mary is also our companion. I must find Victor. That's right. As the captain, Luffy also nodded solemnly. In the original plot, Luffy gave up Mary because he could not see any hope. In order to continue the adventure, he had to give up Mary. But now there is such a glimmer of hope. With Luffy's character, how could he give up? When Mr. Iceberg saw this scene, he also laughed. As the apprentice of the legendary shipwright Tom, Mr. Iceberg admired this kind of man who loves his own ship the most. How bad can a pirate group that loves its own ship be? Mr. Iceberg said, I really hope you can find Victor. I can guarantee that he will definitely find a way to repair Mary. Califa next to him flashed a trace of disdain in her eyes. She didn't think that Straw Hat Crew could find Victor, and she didn't think that Victor would help this group of people. The world government had invited Victor before, but was rejected. They also invited Victor to carry out a research project, but were also rejected. 153. How can a group of children convince a person who even the world government would reject? After confirming that he was powerless, Mr. Iceberg took the people from Carrera Company away. Luffy and others also decided to spend the night on the ship first, and then go to find the mysterious Mr. Victor tomorrow. So why are you on my ship? Luffy asked with an unhappy look on his face. Nico explained seriously, I was invited to the ship, so I'm here to visit. After hearing this, the Straw Hat Crew turned their attention to Robin and Enel. After all, the two of them were responsible for watching the ship. If it was an invitation, it must be the intention of these two people. I didn't. Robin shook his head. Enel also shook his head and said, I didn't invite her. I don't even know her. Hearing this, everyone turned their attention to Nico again. Nico explained seriously, it was the Mary that invited Nico. Feeling that she was fooled, Nami roared angrily, a hole. What nonsense are you talking about? How could the Mary invite people? The Mary is just a ship. Sanji, with his hands in his pockets, was ready to attack. That's right. If you don't explain it well, don't blame us for being ruthless. Wait. At this time, Usopp suddenly stopped everyone. Usopp said excitedly, did you see her too? The soul of the Mary. What? Everyone looked at Usopp in surprise. Could it be that this guy Lousy also had problems? Nico smiled and nodded. Yes. Facing the puzzled eyes of his friends, Usopp said very seriously, I once saw the ship's spirit repairing the Mary. When we couldn't see it, Cap, the Mary was also trying hard to help us. Ah, is that so? Luffy suddenly realized and did not doubt Usopp's words. Great. We have one more companion. No, the Mary was originally our companion. No, we have to have a party tonight to celebrate. Luffy announced excitedly. Robin whispered in disbelief. The legendary ship's spirit actually exists. Compared to other noobs, as a historical researcher, Robin knows many secrets of the sea, including the legend of the ship's spirit. Speaking of this, I remembered something. Robin suddenly said. The people who were preparing to celebrate looked at Robin curiously. Before you came back, We met a mysterious man who gave us a notebook left by a saint. Robin smiled and raised the notebook in his hand. Luffy excitedly announced, "Great! We have a story about the banquet. Let's listen to the story of this notebook while the banquet is going on." Soon the merry became lively, and everyone happily prepared for the banquet. More than an hour, the banquet officially began, and everyone who had eaten and drunk enough was looking forward to Robin translating the next notebook content. Under the expectant eyes of everyone, Robin stood up with a smile, then slowly opened the notebook and began to translate. Ship spirit, or ship elf, is a magical existence comparable to devil fruit. It is said that the mutual care between the crew and the ship will give birth to the ship spirit. There is also a legend that the crew's happy mood can give birth to the ship spirit. Of these two speculations, I prefer the former. Robin, who translated this paragraph, suddenly realized it's about the ship's spirit. No wonder that person gave us this notebook. It turns out that he also discovered that the ship's spirit has been born on the Mary. I didn't expect that the great-grandfather actually studied the ship's spirit. Maybe we can find a way to repair the Mary through this notebook. Luffy guessed excitedly. Robin didn't say anything. She was afraid of disappointing everyone. I decided to personally give birth to the ship's spirit. The first thing is to build a ship, which is not a difficult task. Then there is the mutual care between the ship and the crew. I don't know if the purposeful care is really care. Just in case, I decided to find 10 groups of people who love ships and don't drive the ship to the Grand Line adventure. Under my layout, a group of ship workers who love adventure and ships rush to the sea on the ship I named Exploration. Will it work? Robin thought expectantly. Will it work? Robin thought again. After all, the man can definitely do what he wants to do. Failed. 6 years have passed, and the adventure has not produced a ship spirit. Is it because these guys don't love the adventure enough? But that's not right. These guys obviously took good care of the adventure. Is there another possibility? The ship spirit was born from the emotions of the crew on the ship. In this case, let's do the next experiment. The birth of the ship spirit is not due to the first one. Robin frowned. Since it is not the mutual love between the crew and the ship, is it the positive emotions on the ship? What are the positive emotions? Caring, happy, positive? The Straw Hat crew in the plot do have these emotions, but they also meet the first guess of the birth of the ship spirit. Now here comes the question. How can a group of pirates who burn, kill, plunder, and commit all kinds of evil be full of positive emotions on their ship? Pirates like Luffy can be said to be a freak in the history of pirates. The number of pirates who can be compared with them can probably be counted on one hand. Nami said, "That saint really knew about us a long time ago, and even knew about the birth of the ship spirit on the Mary." Zoro, it's ironic and embarrassing to say that it's obviously our own ship that gave birth to the ship spirit, but we seem to be the last to know. Usopp said proudly, "I knew a long time ago, but you guys are not good enough." Everyone, let's continue to watch the follow-up. I feel that there will definitely be a twist in this matter. Enno reminded, there are too few pirate groups that meet the requirements. After waiting for nearly 200 years, we finally got the experimental target. The Rumba Pirates are a group of musicians. This pirate group should be like the Straw Hat Pirates. Rather than saying they're a group of pirates, it's better to say they're 10C music teams. Robin said in surprise, "This is actually a notebook within 100 years. What's so strange about this? Is it the notebook that Luffy's great-grandfather gave him also within 100 years? Nami complained. Zoro said expressionlessly, "I'm just curious whether the Rumba Pirates succeeded." Failed. From the time the Rumba Pirates set out to sea to the time they were destroyed, the Rumba Pirate ships had never given birth to ship spirits. After abandoning all impossibilities, there's only one possibility. The conditions for the birth of a ship spirit need to meet the previous two speculations, not a single one. So Song can continue to wait for the Straw Hat Pirates 50 years later to prove it. It actually failed too. Robin frowned, and at the same time he was a little proud. The Straw Hat Pirates who can give birth to ship spirits are indeed special. As a member of the Straw Hat Pirates, everyone feels honored. It's incredible. Although the real body has not descended, through perception, I found that the Mary actually gave birth to a ship spirit, and it took less than a year. This is simply outrageous. Isn't this speed too fast? At the same time, I am sure of one thing, that is, the emotions in this world are indeed powerful. When the translation came to this, everyone took a breath of cold air. The meaning of this passage is too important. It turns out that their adventure has been under the observation of that person. Usopp asked with some fear, "Do you think Luffy's great-grandfather is watching me in the underworld now?" Everyone who heard this felt creepy. FK, can you not be so scary when you talk? Sanji looked at Usopp speechlessly. Being watched by someone in the underworld, what kind of heaven-defying description is this? At this time, Zoro added seriously, "It's not necessarily in the underworld. Don't add to this kind of thing." Nami complained with a dark face. Robin's face was also slightly dark. For women, this kind of observation is not polite at all. Boys are better. As women on the ship, being observed is not a good thing. Maybe they're all seen by the observer now. Frightened, Usopp asked carefully, "Do you think we're still in that kind of observation now?" Hearing this, everyone panicked even more. Ahem. Robin, you should continue to translate the following content. There is no need to discuss this kind of thing. Even if you are observed, what's the matter? That's the gaze of the saint. Enel stood up and seriously argued for his own saint. Nami whispered, "This is not a matter of honor. This is peeping." Chapter 95, Mechanical Ascension. Weirdness, the world has gone crazy. If emotions can be transformed into power, then the world will become idealistic. If this is an idealistic world, the picture is so beautiful that I can't even imagine it. Although the ability of devil fruit is also idealistic, if emotions can be transformed into power, then the potential of this world will exceed my imagination. Everyone was confused by this sentence, but everyone present heard the general meaning of this sentence. That is, emotions can be transformed into power, and the potential of this world is great. Although I have long known that this world is idealistic, when I learned that emotions can be transformed into power, I was still a little shocked. It is considered an idealistic world, and it seems to be called Harry Potter. Robin whispered in disbelief. Has my uncle been to other worlds? He traveled through more than one world. There are many worlds outside the world. Luffy suddenly realized that they had always thought that their great-grandfather came to this world from another world, referring to another place coming to the sea, such as from the moon to the sea. Luffy announced excitedly, "I've decided, after becoming the Pirate King, I'm going to adventure in other worlds." Robin's mouth corners slightly raised, and then said, "Maybe we really have organic meat." This time he did not discourage Luffy's enthusiasm. After all, the time traveler is at least Luffy's great-grandfather and his own uncle. Maybe in the future, he will know how to adventure in other worlds. After the guess is verified, you can enjoy a lot of things. There can be ship spirits in the world. So, can there be sword spirits? Can other items also give birth to souls? For example, machines. If machines can produce souls, then, at this moment, a crazy idea suddenly emerged in my mind. Here it comes. Everyone whispered excitedly in their hearts. It was a bold idea before, and it was a crazy idea this time. So what kind of horrible thing will the owner of the diary do this time? Thinking of this, everyone looked at Robin with expectation. Robin did not disappoint the friends. You continue to translate the following content. Based on my partial knowledge of physics and the clone of Vegapunk, and then directly into the flesh and blood, the mechanical ascension thought stamp, the mechanical pioneer Victor was born. Usopp shouted excitedly. Mechanical pioneer Victor. Nami followed with an exclamation. That super scientist who is 800 years ahead of the mechanical technology is actually also Luffy's son to make it? Enel also suddenly realized. I remember. The guy we met today is not Victor. The experiment was successful. Victor did not disappoint. After maturing, Victor showed me a mechanical talent that surprised me. A mad scientist created a crazier scientist. I don't know if this is against human morality, but what is more thrilling than witnessing the birth of one's own masterpiece? Such a miracle is extremely shocking and makes people addicted. I seem to be less and less like a normal person. Is it because I've lived too long? A madman created a crazier scientist. Luffy, I feel that your great-grandfather is not normal. Robin said solemnly. Luffy nodded involuntarily. Judging from this diary, the state of the great-grandfather decades ago was indeed not very good. Others also looked worried, and even the always innocent Nico became very nervous. If the saint really went crazy, it would definitely be a nightmare for the whole world. Neurosis is not terrible. What is terrible is that the creator is a psychopath. Speechless. When I moved the experimental equipment today, my hand was burned. Sometimes I simply asked Victor to install a new mechanical arm for me. Enel asked unacceptably, "Wait, Robin, are you sure you didn't translate it wrong? Would a saint get injured while carrying experimental equipment and then transform his hand into a mechanical arm? Are you sure this diary was written by a saint?" Hearing this, everyone also noticed this extremely strange point. How outrageous is the owner of the diary, the ability holder of the earth fruit. He has mastered the shocking practice of natural breathing. Such a person would get injured in daily bumps and bruises? Okay, even if he really got hurt accidentally with the recovery ability brought by natural breathing, how could he need to change the mechanical arm? Shouldn't it be fine in the time of a meal? Robin was also full of doubts, because he was sure that there was no problem with his translation just now. My uncle-in-law was indeed injured, and although the injury was not described in detail, the cause of the injury was definitely not translated wrong. Bumped while moving things, what kind of outrageous setting is this? It's like Zoro broke his neck during training and died unfortunately. Is this outrageous? What is written in the diary is even more outrageous than this. Forcing down the doubts in his heart, Robin, you guys translate the following content. He found that there is not much recorded in this diary. The doubts in his heart may reveal the truth of that paragraph in the following content. It is not surprising that a cloned life has its own soul, because flesh and blood can give birth to souls. The manufacture machine produces souls. That is the real greatness. I thought of those little mechanical soldiers found on the moon. Although they're very intelligent, they have no souls. If I make a robot, do not install intelligent devices for it. Only set fixed emotions for it, but give it love and positive emotions every day. Can he also give birth to a soul? The miracle of giving birth to a living being from a metal body. Even the nervous Luffy found that something was wrong. It's over. Why do I feel that my great-grandfather is getting more and more crazy? Even Zoro, as a swordsman, felt that things were getting a little scary at this moment. Zoro, yes, from life to soul. Is there anything your great-grandfather dare not do? But I still care more about the fact that he broke his hand in his daily life. I regard Blitzcrank as my own son, and I have poured all my surprise into it. Even if he has no real life, I still regard him as my own son. Successful, I was almost hit by steel today. It was Blitzcrank that suddenly violated its own program and helped me block the steel that fell from the sky at the critical moment. Blitzcrank really gave birth to a soul. My guess is true. In addition to the ship spirit, other spirits can really be born. Then the next step is the research on the sword spirit. Robin frowned and kept translating the passage he just translated. Something's wrong. It's very wrong. Luffy asked in confusion, "Why do I feel that the great-grandfather in this notebook is different from the great-grandfather in the previous notebook?" Nami also nodded and said in agreement, "That's right. These two people don't look like the same person." After taking a deep breath, Robin slowly turned the last page of the notebook. Perhaps the truth of everything will be revealed at the end. Ha ha ha. Ridiculous. Too ridiculous. Zero Wu Ming crossed out, no. It should be the original body. You are such a ruthless person. It turns out that I am also a part of your research on artificial elves. My genes suddenly collapsed today. I asked Victor to check for me and found out that my genes have begun to collapse. If nothing unexpected happens, after I finish writing this paragraph, my genes will collapse and completely dissipate in this world. And the experience and research results during this period will return to the original body with the soul seed. No wonder I have never thought about women in the past 10 years. And even I have never thought about leaving the Water City as if I have been stamped with a thought. I have never thought about going out to have fun. I am not focused on the Pokemon exploration program. It turns out that I am just a clone. No, just an avatar. Original body. You deserve to die. Robin, Luffy, Enel, C. Nico's mouth twitched slightly. After a long time of thinking, she finally complained, I was wondering why the owner of this diary is so wrong this time. Luffy also said with relief, Huh, that's great. It seems that the great-grandfather's mental state is not a problem. Nami asked meaningfully, Are you sure? As a doctor, Chopper, who has always acted as a mascot and never said this, explained seriously. If your great-grandfather often plays like this, I suspect he will have schizophrenia, Luffy said. My great-grandfather is so smart. He should have solved this problem, right? Robin closed the book silently, thinking silently in his heart. It has self-awareness, and all aspects are the same as the original, but it has been stamped with a thought, and even the body's genetic hair has been castrated. After the task is completed, the memory of the existence of the clone will return to the original body, which is indeed very convenient, but it feels a bit too anti-human. Enel said with relief, I said how the strength of the saint could become so rubbish. It turns out to be just a clone, and is a clone specially used for research. Almost the faith almost collapsed. Chapter 96, Wanakuni's Treasure. After the notebook was translated, everyone's mood was complicated, with some feeling relieved and some feeling relieved. Only Usopp asked curiously, Nico, right? Nico nodded. Usopp asked expectantly, Can you communicate with Mary? The person who cares most about Mary is definitely Usopp. And in fact, Usopp was the first to discover that Mary has a ship spirit. Sure, Mary's spirit is not stable now, so we can't chat with him all the time, but we can chat with him occasionally. Nico said. Usopp shouted, Then tell Mary for us. We will definitely fix it. We will. Yeah, I believe you. Nico nodded. She has communicated with the souls of this group of people. How to say it? Nico said that she had seen many pirates on this sea, but she had never seen pirates like the Straw Hat Pirates. Rather than saying that the Straw Hat Pirates are a group of pirates, it is better to say that they are a group of adventurers. Nico smiled and said with emotion, You are indeed very special. No wonder you get the attention of the master. At this time, Robin put away the notebook and then curiously asked, Are you related to the saint? Nico smiled and asked, Speaking of which, I'm also a creation of the saint. Do you know natural energy? Natural breathing method? Nami asked in surprise. For 7-3, Nico nodded. Almost, but I was not created by the saint, but was transformed. The saint injected some special bloodline factors into my body and taught me the application of natural energy. Nico has never lied, especially to sincere people, so Nico did not hide her origins. Zoro asked curiously, So you are now equivalent to eating the devil fruit, but without the cursed ability? Yeah, Nico boasted proudly. I am equivalent to eating Paramecia's magic fruit and communication fruit, and I also have the ability to use natural energy to fight the enemy, which is equivalent to half of the Logia devil fruit. 1 Sanji. They're all bloodline factors. Why is there such a big difference? At this moment, Sanji despised his cold-blooded and arrogant father in his heart. Everyone is playing with bloodline factors, and the bloodline factors in his body are really not worthy of carrying shoes for others. Just as several people were chatting, a small boat quickly came to the port. Nico said happily, They are here. Robin asked quickly, Who? Nico, your friend Vivi. While the two were talking, the ship had already stopped in front of Mary. The first to jump on the ship were Kazan and Gyeon, followed by Vivi. After seeing Kazan, Robin's body stiffened instantly. At this moment, Chuan Chuan remembered the tragedy of O'Hara and the fear brought by the Buster Call. Diviles son Robin? I didn't expect to see you here. Kazan looked at Robin with some surprise, and then ignored Robin. Robin looked at Kazan with a complicated expression, and his feelings towards Kazan were very complicated. There was hatred because Kazan killed Saul, and Kazan was also one of the culprits who destroyed O'Hara. At the same time, there was gratitude because this guy let him go many times. Long time no see, Kazan Admiral. No, should I call you a Marine trader or a new Marine Marshal now? Duinya Asked Sarkastikeli. The Vice Admiral who executed Buster Call at the beginning has now become a traitor to Marine. How ironic. Kazan was not angry and said, Call me Kazan. As for Marine Marshal, I am not qualified yet. When the new Marine has gathered 3 admirals, you can call me Marine Marshal then." Seeing that he did not anger the other party, Robin frowned and asked, "Why are you here?" Kazan did not hide it and directly admitted, "I came to Water City to find the same technology." Luffy laughed. "Ha ha ha. Vivi, long time no see." On the other side, Vivi and Straw Hat crew were already chatting. Nami asked curiously, "By the way, how did you get together with Marine Admiral?" Vivi explained, "Mr. Kazan is a good person. He founded the new Marine, and it was suppressed by the world government. We are now in a cooperative relationship and fight against the world government together." Usopp asked in confusion, "Why do you come to Water City if you are short of food?" "What is Water City? This is a dock factory. All food is imported. Vivi and others will not come to this broken place to buy food, right? We have solved the problem of food. The main problem is transportation. We came here to find technology that can solve this problem." Vivi explained. Guillaume looked at the Straw Hat crew thoughtfully. The son of the Devil Robin, the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. She found this pirate group quite interesting, and most importantly, her observation haki did not sense any sins on the Straw Hat crew. This is almost impossible to happen to pirates, but the fact is that it did happen. At this time, Know-It-All Nicole suddenly said, "The technology you are looking for should be in the hands of that Victor. The Straw Hats will also ask Victor for help later. You can cooperate with them." Kazan nodded and said, "Then let's work together. Let's go find Master Victor together tomorrow." At this time, Kazan's moral bottom line is already very flexible. As for whether cooperating with pirates is against justice, now he is a pirate in the Marine side, and he still cares about these. Enel invited, "Hey, Kazan is also a Logia Devil Fruit ability. Do you want to compete?" Kazan listened, looked at Enel thoughtfully, and then nodded. "Okay, but the mission must be completed. He has already touched that barrier, so he needs a fierce enough battle to break through that barrier. Facing the challenge of the strong, Kazan basically will not refuse during this period of course. The premise is that it does not affect his work." New World Wanhua. Linlin, I found a new race. Are you interested? Charlotte Linlin's eyes lit up when she heard the voice coming from the phone. Charlotte Linlin asked excitedly, "New race? What race?" Kaido said seriously, "I don't know the details, but it is definitely a very powerful race, and it may even be comparable to the Giants." Charlotte Linlin's eyes turned, and she wanted to ask for the new race by pretending to be happy. "So you want to give me the new race?" Kaido, who originally wanted to get something for nothing, didn't expect that Charlotte Linlin on the opposite side also wanted to get something for nothing. Kaido explained, "Of course not. I want to invite you to catch the new race together." Charlotte Linlin hesitated. On the one hand, she didn't trust Kaido and was afraid that he would lead her into a trap. On the other hand, she didn't want to leave Wanhua. After all, she was living comfortably in a foreign country. The potential of the new race is really high. Maybe you and him will give birth to offspring comparable to gods after you combine with him. Kaido continued to stimulate. Unable to bear the temptation, Charlotte Linlin asked tentatively, "Where?" Kaido, "East Blue." Charlotte Linlin, "What do you want?" As the saying goes, if you're kind to someone without any reason, you're either a traitor or a thief. Yuan Lot Linlin didn't believe that Kaido would give her benefits for no reason. Kaido said, "After you take down that island, the people on it will belong to you, and the others will belong to me." Charlotte Linlin, who saw through Kaido's thoughts in an instant, squinted her eyes and asked, "Boy, there won't be any treasures on that island, right?" Under the condition of not going crazy, Charlotte Linlin's IQ is still quite online. Just through a short conversation, Charlotte Linlin has already figured out the purpose of Kaido's trip. Purpose. In fact, Kaido had never thought of fooling Charlotte Linlin, so Kaido used the new race to seduce Charlotte Linlin from the beginning. For Charlotte Linlin, the offspring of a new race is more important than the treasure representing wealth. Kaido pretended to be impatient and urged, "How about it? Do you want to cooperate? When the time comes, you can breed offspring of the new race, and I can also get the treasure, so that everyone will have a bright future." After thinking for a moment, Charlotte Linlin finally couldn't resist the temptation of the new race. Okay, you come along to pick me up, and we'll go to East Blue together to occupy that island. The new race is not needed. You just need to give me the strongest of the new race, Charlotte Linlin said. Seeing that Charlotte Linlin had finally been fooled, Kaido quickly suppressed his excitement and promised impatiently, "No problem, I will come in 6 days." As for what to do if there is no new race on the island at that time, even if Rox is resurrected, the King Kong guarding the island is a new race. As for how this new race looks like a normal person, Charlotte Linlin is not a biological researcher, so she can just fool around. By the time Charlotte Linlin reacts, she will have almost digested Skull Island. Even if Charlotte Linlin wants to settle the score later, she will have to think twice. Well, the plan is perfect. Kaido hung up the phone with a smug smile on his face. The next step is to recover from the injuries on his body, but being idle all the time is not conducive to the recovery of the body, so Kaido decided to move around. As the saying goes, it is better to beat a child on a cloudy day. Anyway, he is idle, and Kaido thinks this makes sense. What is my BD son doing recently? Kaido asked casually. Carrot, Black Maria next to him reported. Master Yamato is treasure hunting in Wanakuni recently. Kaido, Wanakuni has been ruined by me, and there's still treasure there? Could it be? Kaido instantly thought of the Kazuki family. Could it be the treasure left by the Kazuki family? Kaido was thoughtful. Black Maria added, by the way, Master Yamato said that it was a treasure left by some saint. Saint? Kaido waved his hand impatiently. Forget it. Let her do whatever she wants as long as she doesn't think about going out to sea to follow that saint all day long. New World Wanakuni. Miss, do you think Master Yamato can really find the treasure? Atsuko asked with a smile. It is indeed a map, and the words on it are the kind of Chinese characters that my mother taught me, but I don't know if it is a treasure map. Kazuki Hayori shook his head. Okay. Atsuko nodded with a smile and did not ask any more questions. Looking at Atsuko, who was always smiling, Kazuki Hayori's eyes flashed with sadness. Damn Kaido. Damn Korizumi. Why am I so weak? I can only watch these people harm Wanakuni, but I am powerless to restore the country. Every time he saw Atsuko with only a smile on her face, Kazuki Hayori would complain about the injustice of heaven, hating himself for being incompetent and hating those damn demons for turning Wanakuni into a hell on earth. According to the instructions on the map, the treasure seems to be behind this waterfall. Yamato looked at the waterfall in front of him excitedly and thoughtfully. Chapter 97, A Man Called Beelzebub. Excited Yamato fiddled with the shackles on her wrists in a somewhat unhappy way. The shackles on her wrists seriously affected her strength. Otherwise, she would not just explore Wanakuni. With that strength, she would definitely overturn Wanakuni to threaten Kaido and force Kaido to let him go on the adventure. Yamato accelerated and rushed into the waterfall. There was indeed a cave behind the waterfall, but the cave was blocked by the strange door above. Sea stone. Yamato pouted unhappily. She herself had the ability of devil fruit. Although she wore shackles all year round, she had already adapted to the negative effects of sea stone. But standing in front of this door, Yamato felt that strange feeling of weakness for the first time in a long time. Before, even if she wore sea stone shackles on her hands, she was not much different from a normal person except that she could not use the devil fruit ability. But now, Yamato found that she became abnormally weak, as if she was carrying a weight of 10,000 pounds on her body. Yamato used his observation haki again and was surprised to find that the door in front of him could actually isolate the observation haki. Damn, can't I get in? Yamato knocked on the door a little exhausted, enjoying the treatment his father received when facing Skull Island. The treasure mountain was clearly in front of him, but he couldn't get it. Ding Face detected Yamato. Face recognition successful. A sudden female mechanical voice sounded, followed by the sound of gears turning and the sound of the long-sealed door slowly opening. Click, click, the door slowly opened, and Yamato, who was originally frustrated, looked at the door in front of him excitedly. Yamato thanked excitedly. Thank you so much, good person behind the door. Silly Yamato naively thought that the mechanical sound just now was someone behind the door. After the door opened, the lights inside automatically lit up. Looking at the long corridor in front of him, even Yamato, who was as thick-skinned as Luffy, couldn't help swallowing his saliva. There won't be any dirty stuff here, right? Where's the person who opened the door for me? Yamato whispered, but still plucked up the courage and walked in. Yamato finally couldn't get rid of the temptation of treasure. After walking through a long passage, Yamato came to a hall. This is a circular hall, and various mechanical and technological items are placed near the edge of the wall. The reason why Yamato knows these things is that she has been to Quinn's laboratory and smashed a lot of things in it. The equipment in Quinn's laboratory is similar to this one, and it is precisely because she smashed Quinn's laboratory that she was qualified to come to Wano Kuni. In the center of the hall is a huge amber. The strange thing is that the amber does not contain some kind of animal, but a sleeping girl. She is a mysterious woman whose charm is difficult to describe in words. Her dark purple long hair is tied into a braid and hangs behind her. The closer to the end, the lighter the hair color. She lies in the amber with her eyes closed, with a teardrop mole at the corner of her right eye, and a gentian flower and a folding fan on her head. On her left shoulder, she wore a black and gold shoulder armor and a purple kimono with a gentian flower tattoo on it. Compared to traditional kimonos, the collar of this kimono is not tied tightly, but is open to the shoulders, and the hem is shortened, only reaching the thighs. The furosode on both sides is different. The kimono is fixed by a red belt, and the purple waist rope is tied with a decoration with a special pattern and 2 strings of tassels, 1 gold and 1 purple, hang naturally. Her legs are wearing black stockings and brown human order high heels. Yamato exclaimed with bright eyes, "What a beautiful lady!" Out of human appreciation of beauty, Yamato couldn't help but reach out and touch the amber in front of him. As Yamato's fingers gently touched the amber, the originally hard amber suddenly began to melt. Seeing this scene, Yamato also realized that he was in trouble. Sorry, I don't know. Yamato apologized incoherently. But this did not affect the amber's continuous melting at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon the amber melted completely, and the purple-haired girl in the middle of the amber slowly opened her eyes, and an invisible haki instantly swept the entire hall. Yamato only felt her shoulders sink, but fortunately this conqueror's haki was unconsciously stimulated, and it was not aimed at her, so Yamato was not pressed to the ground. She had a pair of light purple eyes, and when she just opened her eyes were a little confused, even a little empty. But soon, these eyes became bright, and they were not as empty as they were at the beginning. "My name is Beelzebub's Shadow." At this time, Yamato asked carefully, were you captured? In Yamato's opinion, Beelzebub was imprisoned in the crystal before, and he just slept with the other party. Ding Lei movie successfully awakened. "Welcome to this world. Wish you a happy life." The system started to go offline. Another female mechanical prompt sounded. Hearing this sudden sound, Yamato shouted nervously, "Who is it?" Lei Yingying reminded expressionlessly, "Don't shout, it's not a life." Yamato looked at Lei Yingying with a sense of awe, and then asked, "Who are you? How did you get caught here?" Lei Yingying, "Beelzebub, you can call me that. I was not caught here, I was born here." Hearing this, Yamato suddenly realized, "So this is your home?" Lei Yingying, "Yeah." Lei Yingying nodded. Yamato asked a little depressed, "So the treasure refers to your home?" "The treasure you're talking about should be this box." Lei Dianying kicked the box under his feet to Yamato. She didn't have much memory, only roughly remembered her name and mission and some fighting skills. Looking at the box kicked by Lei Dianying, Yamato excitedly opened the box. But the excitement on Yamato's face did not last long. The smile on her face froze instantly, and Yamato looked at the things in the box in a daze. In the box, there was only a notebook that looked very old lying quietly. Yamato shouted, "How come it's just a broken notebook?" After listening, Lei Dianying picked up the notebook in the box expressionlessly and put it away. "What are you doing?" Yamato looked at Lei Dianying, who took away her treasure with a daze. Lei Dianying, Tell me directly. This is very important to me. Yamato said generously. Forget it. It's just a broken notebook anyway. You can take it if you want. Are there other rooms here? Maybe the treasure is in other rooms. Lei Dianing looked around and shook her head with certainty. After all, the hall is so big, and there's only one exit. With Lei Dianing's eyesight, she saw at a glance that there are no other rooms. Yamato continued to ask, "Are you the only 167 people here?" "Yes." Lei Dianing nodded. Yamato asked again, "You should have just woken up?" "Yes." Lei Dianing nodded again. "Yamato, what are your plans next?" Lei Dianing said very seriously, "Tear down Wanakuni and rebuild Inazuma, and then let Inazuma establish a country." You want to overthrow Wanakuni?" Yamato looked at Lei Dianing in surprise. "Yes." Lei Dianing nodded, and then said, "There's a voice in my mind telling me that this is my mission." Yamato was a little confused and then asked, "Is Inazuma the name of the country?" "Yeah." Lei Dianing nodded. Yamato reminded with some concern, "Korizumi Orochi is very strong, and behind him is Kaido. That BD. Why don't you go somewhere else to rebuild your country?" After a moment of silence, Dianing said, "I'm very strong." Yamato suggested, "No matter how strong you are, can you compare to Kaido? That BD? Why don't you go out to sea with me? Then go to other islands to rebuild your country." Lei Dianing said seriously, "There's a voice in my mind telling me that I am very strong now. Stronger than everyone. X." Considering that he woke this person up, Yamato sincerely advised, "What if the voice in your mind is deceiving you? What if it is your illusion? That will kill people. I still suggest you." "No." Lei Dianing shook his head very affirmatively. Although many memories are blank, Lei Dianing knows that the voice in his mind is his eternal guidance. She couldn't be wrong, and she couldn't lie to herself. Chapter 98. The woman who wants to change Wanakuni to Inazuma. The two of them left this special base very quickly. Through testing, Yamato also confirmed that this woman really lost her memory. She only knew a few things and didn't even know some basic common sense outside. Considering that he was the one who woke up this fool, Yamato felt that he should be responsible to the end. At least he couldn't watch this fool die. Korizumi Snake is not a good person. Lei Dianing dared to deliver himself to the door, which was almost the same as sending himself to death. The nerveless Yamato had some wisdom for the first time and advised earnestly beside him, "I think things like founding a country should be considered in the long run. For example, you should need followers now, right? By then, even if you defeat Korizumi Snake, you can't govern the country. And how can you build a country alone?" Lei Dianing, who was walking in front, stopped and thought for a moment and nodded solemnly. It seemed that Lei Dianing, who had triggered the key words, had another part of memory in his mind. Lei Dianing said, "You have a point. I can't build a country by myself, so I have to find my partners." "You still have partners?" "I don't have any." "How can you, a fool?" Yamato looked at Lei Dianing speechlessly. This is like a rich second generation taking care of a working friend, but turned around and found that this working friend was richer than himself. Lei Dianing said with a notebook, "A voice told me that I can find my companions through this notebook, but I don't recognize the words on it." Hearing this, Yamato finally paid attention to the notebook. After seeing the square words on it, Yamato's eyes lit up. "I know someone who knows the words on it. We can ask him for help," Yamato said happily. For Yamato, as long as Lei Dianing doesn't go to Korizumi Orochi to die, nothing else matters. Yamato took Lei Dianing's hand and said, "Let's go. I'll take you to Xiaozi, Water City." Early the next morning, everyone set out on a journey to find the mechanical pioneer Victor. After some inquiries, everyone finally found a clue. In front of Frankie's house, Luffy put his hands in front of his mouth in a trumpet shape and shouted, "Hello. Is anyone there?" As soon as Luffy finished speaking, there were bursts of metal collision sound from Frankie's house. Soon, a mechanical cyborg with a tire on his lower body came out. The cyborg asked, "Are you here to see Frankie?" Vivi explained quickly, "Yes, I heard that Frankie can contact Master Victor, so I came to visit Rashleigh. We want to see Master Victor." So we need Mr. Frankie to help introduce him. The cyborg curled his lips and then complained, "Hearing your voices so loud, I thought you were here to make trouble." The cyborg said, "Come in with me," until someone was brought into Frankie's house. The cyborgs served a few cups of Coke. "We only have Coke here, so just make do with it." The boss went to Master Victor, and he should be back soon. The modified man left the living room after saying that. So polite. Kazan looked at the modified man's back thoughtfully. After waiting for more than 2 hours at Frankie's house, Frankie finally came back at noon. After seeing the man's appearance, Usopp exclaimed, "It's this guy, the star we saw yesterday. He's only wearing a pair of briefs on his lower body. It seems that he is the guy we saw yesterday." Nami also nodded. After learning from his younger brother why Luffy and the others were looking for him, Frankie sat in front of everyone carelessly and then asked directly, "Are you looking for Master Victor?" "Yes. Our ship is seriously damaged. Mr. Iceberg said that only Master Victor in the world can repair our ship." Usopp quickly explained the reason for their trip. Frankie asked in disbelief, "You are looking for Master Victor just to repair the ship?" Every day, many people want to find Master Victor. Some people are physically disabled and want to accept Master Victor's mechanical transformation and join the ranks of glorious evolution. Some ambitious people hope to find Master Victor to modify their ships so that their ships can become more destructive. Frankie has never seen such a situation today. In Frankie's opinion, it is just repairing the ship. There is no need to trouble Master Victor. Frankie directly refused. Victor does not accept ship repair business. Luffy said sincerely, "But the Mary really needs Master Victor's help. Please take us to see Master Victor." Frankie wanted to refuse, but after seeing Luffy's eyes full of sincerity, Frankie nodded involuntarily. Frankie said, "I can take you to see Master Victor, but whether Master Victor is willing to help you is up to you." Frankie felt that the reason why he agreed to this group of people was perhaps because he was moved by their love for the ship. Seeing that Frankie agreed to his request, Luffy said with gratitude, "Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Frankie." Under the leadership of Frankie, the group quickly came to the sewer of the Water City. After walking in the maze-like sewer for more than 2 hours, everyone finally came to a studio. This is the personal studio of Master Victor. He is inside. I will ask him if he is willing to see you," Frankie said. Usopp held Frankie's hand and begged, "Please." Seeing that these people lowered their attitude to repair the ship, Frank nodded and said, "I will try my best to say something good for you." He had brought a father and son here before, and the father also begged him in the same way. The father hoped that his son would have healthy legs, so he placed his hope on the glorious evolution. From this point, it can be judged that Usopp really regarded his ship as his own child. In Victor's personal studio, Victor, holding a mechanical core in his hand, looked thoughtfully at the display screen in front of him, which was playing the surveillance footage of the Straw Hat crew outside. It was found so quickly. Is it because of the fruit that the master said? Or is it the so-called luck? Victor thought curiously. Frankie just came in and heard Victor say, "Bring them in." Hearing this, Frankie's face flashed with joy. The adults are willing to see Straw Hat Luffy and others, which proves that the adults are ready to help Straw Hat crew. Frankie turned around and left the work. After a while, Frankie brought everyone to the studio. Strange. Is it the ability of devil fruit? Kazan frowned. From the outside, the space inside cannot be so large. From the outside, Victor's workroom looks small, about the size of a private garage. But after entering, Kazan found that the area inside is as large as 3 football fields. It's not the ability of devil fruit, but a space technology, it's science. Victor answered Kazan's doubts. Kazan's pupils shrank when he heard this, and then he simply looked at Victor in front of him. You know, he didn't say it just now, and Victor's answer was so natural, there's only one possibility. This person in front of him can see through other people's hearts. Victor added, "It's brain waves? Don't worry. I can't read your memory. I can only know your thoughts." How can we be assured after you said that? Everyone complained silently in their hearts, but they didn't dare to question it out loud, let alone get angry. After all, they are asking for help now. At this time, Robin finally saw Victor's appearance clearly. You are indeed the person from yesterday afternoon. Robin said. Victor nodded, and then admitted, a ship that can give birth to ship spirits. Of course I have to see it in person. I hope I didn't disturb you yesterday. So, Master Victor, can you help us repair the Mary? We are willing to pay any price. Usopp said impatiently. The Straw Hat crew is not short of money now. When they left the Sky Country, they took a lot of gold. After all, in the Sky Country, gold is worthless, but it is an absolute precious metal in King High. Such a miracle really can't be destroyed because of this. Victor nodded in agreement. Victor is still very interested in repairing the Mary. Even without the Master's order, he can save this miracle. It is incredible that a wooden boat can give birth to a soul. Victor looked at Robin and smiled meaningfully. It seems that you have read the notebook I gave you. Robin smiled and nodded. I happen to be able to translate Chinese characters. Victor exclaimed, that's amazing. Chinese characters are a very complex language. Robin's ability to master them has proved that the other party is at least on the master's side. Victor turned his attention to Kazan and others and asked, what is your purpose? Kazan said, we are here to find the Hextech flying gate technology. Victor shook his head and said, this technology is not in my hands. He specializes in physical mechanics, and the Hextech flying gate also involved a power called arcane by the master, so he didn't learn this technology at all. Seeing that Victor didn't know this technology, Kazan asked excitedly, then do you know where the technology is? Some people say that you are the only person in Water City who knows the Hextech flying gate. In fact, I do know that technology, but I don't know that technology. Hex flying gate technology is one of the technologies that was eliminated by the master. I don't know how you know this technology, but it's probably difficult to find it now, unless you can find my master, Victor explained. Knowing that there is basically no hope, Vivi said frustratedly, alas, what should I do? It was okay at the beginning, but in the future, the world government will definitely attack our Dinuajiao transportation channels. Kazan asked desperately. Then do you know where the Saint is? Kazan felt that the Saint should not sit idly by on this matter. If the Saint really didn't care about the New Marine and West Blue, the other party would not have given him a letter. Victor asked back, since you are afraid that the world government will destroy your transportation routes, why don't you send people to protect them? If it were really that simple, it would be great. The problem is that we don't have that many people to protect the safety of the transportation routes. Kazan was frustrated. He found that the establishment of a new marine was actually quite simple, but the consequences of establishing a new marine seemed to be more difficult to bear than establishing a new marine. Victor looked at Kazan with a meaningful look. How could the Saint be short of people? Now it seems that there are still many inside stories that he doesn't know. Thinking of this, Victor decided not to intervene in this matter. If he disrupted the arrangement of the Saint, it would be disrespectful. Victor grabbed the machine and spun around and said, let's go, Straw Hat Boy. Then I'll go see your ship. Usopp next to him nodded quickly and then led the way in front with a flattering face. As a sea warrior who can bend and stretch, Usopp said that as long as Victor can repair the Mary, he can do anything. What should we do? Kazan sighed worriedly. Gion persuaded the god. Let's go back to West Blue first. We will slowly find a way to solve the problem of the transportation route. Although this time the search was in vain, Gion was not too disappointed. The biggest food problem recently has been solved. Transportation problems are always easier to solve than food problems, right? Chapter 99. The New Future of Water City. At the port of Water City, on the Mary. At the invitation of Straw Hat Crew, Victor carefully inspected the Mary from inside to outside. Finally, Victor came to the conclusion and said, the keel is broken very seriously. Ordinary repairs are not enough. It still needs some transformation. As long as the Mary can be repaired, it's okay no matter what. Please, Mr. Victor. Usopp came to the ground and sat down. Victor shook his head and then expressed his concerns. The question now is, if a large-scale transformation of this ship is carried out, will it affect the ship's spirit? Hearing this, the Hat was silent for a while. At this time, Zoro asked carelessly, what are you struggling with? Now, besides transforming the Mary, do you have any other ways? Hearing this, everyone realized that now there's really no other way except to transform the Mary to bring a glimmer of life. Luffy followed Usopp and did the same action. "Please, Mr. Victor." Victor calmly avoided Luffy's kneeling and then said in a low voice, "Do your best. Now you have to go to Carrera Company to prepare the materials for the transformation of the Mary. You have about 2 days to collect the materials I need." "Yes." Luffy and Usopp, who got up from the ground, nodded heavily. Office of Director 403 of Carrera Company. Mr. Iceberg asked with a bit of fatigue in his tone. "Khalifa, how long have you been with me?" Khalifa answered without hesitation, 5 years. "Yes, it's been 5 years." Mr. Iceberg sighed and then suddenly asked, "Is it for Pluton's design drawings?" Hearing this, Khalifa's face changed instantly and then looked at Mr. Iceberg in disbelief. "I was exposed." "When?" Khalifa took a step back with a horrified look on his face, but Khalifa quickly reacted and asked in a puzzled manner, "Mr. Iceberg, what are you talking about?" "I don't know what you mean." Seeing that Khalifa refused to admit it, Mr. Iceberg sneered. "Mr. Victor has a special device that can read other people's brainwaves, and my junior brother Frankie happens to be one of Mr. Victor's followers." Khalifa has realized that he may really be exposed at this moment, and the fear on his face gradually faded. Khalifa asked expressionlessly, "When did you find out?" "Mr. Iceberg, about 4 years ago." Khalifa gritted his teeth and asked, "Rude guy, so you have been acting with me for the past 4 years. Now it all makes sense. Why didn't this damn BD in front of him look at me straight in the eye for 4 years? Obviously, when I was working, I had already used sexual harassment as a catchphrase, but this guy still didn't move. So she had always thought that this man only had eyes for ships. Now it seems that it is not that the other party is not lustful, nor that she is not attractive, but that this guy is afraid. As an elite agent trained by the world government, although Khalifa is still a virgin, she has learned the means of seducing men from the teachers in Happy Street. Originally, according to the plan of the world government, she should have been a bargaining chip for the first time, and then from the secretary to Mrs. Iceberg, and finally get the Pluton design from Iceberg, and then secretly control the world's first shipbuilding factory, Carrera Company. The plan is beautiful, but the reality is cruel. Mr. Iceberg actually knew his true identity 4 years ago. Mr. Iceberg crossed his arms and asked coldly, "Do you have anything else to say now?" Khalifa gritted her teeth and asked, "Why expose me now? Are you playing tricks on me? Have you waited for this opportunity?" Because the opportunity has come, Water City will officially break away from the world government and completely run towards a truly beautiful future. Mr. Iceberg announced energetically, "You actually want to be an enemy of the world government?" Khalifa looked at Mr. Iceberg in disbelief, as if he was meeting this man for the first time. Khalifa did not say anything cold, but said in a cold tone, "In that case, then I can only take you back and torture you." Six Styles shave. Khalifa disappeared instantly. Six Styles Tempest Kick. A wave of slashing hit Mr. Iceberg. Facing Khalifa's attack, Mr. Iceberg took out a special long hammer from under the table. Lightning Field. A transparent protective shield enveloped Mr. Iceberg. After blocking Khalifa's attack, the hammer in Mr. Iceberg's hand, Kag, was deformed again. Sky Leap. Mr. Iceberg raised the long hammer in his hand and jumped high. Boom! Although Khalifa dodged the attack of the long hammer at the critical moment, the long hammer emitted a strange static electricity when it hit the floor, which spread throughout the office. Covered by static electricity, Khalifa twitched for a while and lost his ability to move. Khalifa, who was electrocuted and collapsed on the ground, asked unwillingly, "What weapon do you have in your hand?" Hextech Transformer Hammer, the ship repair tool, given to me by Mr. Victor. Mr. Iceberg smiled and tore off his coat, revealing the white suit inside. Mr. Iceberg explained, "Clothes that isolate static electricity." Khalifa asked unwillingly, "Do you know what this city will bring if you break away from the world government?" "It will bring a better future. The Water City will have a bright future." Iceberg said enthusiastically, "Why? Just with a weapon in your hand?" Khalifa sneered. Mr. Iceberg nodded as a matter of course. "Yes, just with the weapons in our hands. This is the power of progress. It's crazy. Khalifa cursed in a low voice with a gloomy face. He felt that the guy in front of him must have been brainwashed. Otherwise, why would he be so stupid as to be an enemy of the world government? Break away from the world government? As the largest shipbuilding factory of the world government, how could world conquest let such a thing happen? Do you really think that the world government is not good just because Buster Call failed once or twice? Mr. Iceberg walked to the window with a hammer and looked at the port and said softly, "You don't understand. The horn of freedom has come." Khalifa closed his eyes and urged, "My mission failed. Kill me." As an agent, Khalifa knew too well what would happen if he fell into the hands of the enemy after failure. Mr. Iceberg put away the hammer, then looked at Khalifa and said, "No, you have a destiny, so you won't die here. Have you heard of the saint?" Mr. Iceberg asked. Khalifa looked at Mr. Iceberg with a confused face. "What do you mean? Is it the man who brainwashed Iceberg?" Khalifa was thoughtful and vaguely grasped a glimmer of hope to survive. Mr. Iceberg said, "Anyone whose name is mentioned by the saint and who has not been arranged is qualified to survive. You are one of them. Be thankful. Khalifa, you are lucky." Khalifa did not talk back this time because Mr. Iceberg said that she could survive. Khalifa felt that even if she was caught, her companions would come to rescue her. Their CP9 group is different from others. At least Rob Lucci and others are different from other agents. Bang! Khalifa finally saw only the hammer getting closer and closer to her face. "Take over. Take a nap first. When you wake up, water of cardamom will enter a new era." Mr. Iceberg said to the person at the door, "Oriana, take this woman away." When the office was empty, Mr. Iceberg looked in the direction of Eni's lobby and whispered, "According to the prophecy left by the saint, the gate of justice representing the laws of the world government should collapse, right?" Chapter 100. The Origin of Shadow. Wanakuni is destined. Wanakuni. Kazuki Hayori looked at the lei Dianing in front of him with some surprise. "Is this the treasure you found?" Kazuki Hayori asked in disbelief. Yamato nodded confidently. "Yes, he is the treasure I found." Adi. Looking at the lei Dianing with a blank expression and no rebuttal, Setsuki Hayori was thoughtful. Atoko next to him asked worriedly, "Your friend seems to be a little. She seems to have lost her memory, so she looks a little abnormal." Yamato smiled carelessly and did not hide the mental state of lei Dianing. "So that's it." Kazuki Hayori nodded thoughtfully. "By the way, Xiaozi, I have another thing to ask you," Yamato said and handed the notebook in his hand to Kazuki Hayori. "Can you help me translate the content above?" Yamato's eyes were full of expectations. Kazuki Hayori looked at the notebook in his hand and nodded helplessly. Although Kaido is considered her father's murderer, Kazuki Hayori does not hate Yamato. After all, the relationship between Yamato and Kaido is known to almost everyone in Wanakuni and Onigashima. The people in Wanakuni are too much. It's just a little sea stone. They want to fight to the death. If it weren't for the mercy of God, I would have to destroy the Kazuki family. However, considering Kazuki Hayori's future, you should be patient for now. There is no need to argue with a fool. Up. Looking at the notebook in her hand, Kazuki Hayori almost suspected that her identity was exposed. "That, Yamato, where did you find this notebook?" Kazuki Hayori asked calmly. Yamato pointed at lei Dianing and explained, "This notebook was found in the box under the feet of this woman." Kazuki Hayori nodded thoughtfully, and she was quietly relieved in her heart. She almost thought that her identity was exposed and that this notebook was deliberately used by Korizumi to test her. But who is the owner of this notebook? The malice towards the Kazuki family is so great. It was obviously me who stole Seastone first, and the Kazuki family just wanted to get back what was stolen. Just because of this, you want to destroy the Kazuki family? And why does the owner of this diary know my name? Thinking of this, Kazuki Hayori couldn't help but look at the notebook in his hand carefully. This is a notebook with traces of time. Judging from the yellowing marks of this notebook has at least hundreds of years of sedimentation. But how can people from 100 years ago know me? And I let the Kazuki family go at that time. Soon Kazuki Hayori thought of two guesses. The first guess is that they have the same name, and the other guess is his mother, the time traveler who ate the time fruit, forcibly suppressing the doubts in his heart. Kazuki Hayori turned to the next page. Wanakuni is not completely useless. At least the sword-forging technology of this country is still quite good. The emission technique of armament hockey is also quite good. It is considered the second stage of armament hockey. Armament hockey and emission are the same thing. There is no doubt that there are three stages of armament hockey: ordinary armament hockey flow and gathering, and armament hockey internal destruction. The second and third types of Wanakuni are both called emission. Armament hockey flow and gathering can defend and output, but the flowing armament hockey is divided into two levels: external destruction and internal destruction. For example, Leopard Goro is external destruction, and Rayleigh is internal destruction. Armament hockey, Ray movie was thoughtful. Flow and convergence. Lei Yingying raised his right hand curiously, and the dark purple armament hockey instantly covered Lei Yingying's right arm. Kazuki Hayori also looked at Lei Yingying's right hand with some surprise. The armament hockey covering Lei Yingying's right arm seemed to flow, and it looked strangely beautiful. Armed beasts can actually be used like this. It looks so beautiful. Yamato looked at Lei Yingying's right hand with shining eyes. Purple armament hockey shouldn't be black? Kazuki Hayori frowned and murmured. As the daughter of Kazuki Odin, Kazuki Haida has seen many people's armament hockey, but the color of the armament hockey of all the people he has seen is almost black. And the armament hockey of the girl in front of him has a strange beauty. Yamato asked excitedly, Lei Yingying, can you teach me how to make armament hockey flow? I don't know either. Lei Yingying shook her head in confusion. Armament hockey, which is difficult in the eyes of others, is actually the instinct of the body for her. Lei Yingying is willing to teach Yamato, but the problem is that he himself has not figured out the principle. Just like a person's pulse beats, this is the instinct of the body, and it is impossible to teach others. After searching in vain, Yamato can only set his sights on Kazuki Hayori, a local of Wanakuni. Xiaozi, do you know who else in your Wanakuni can emit? Yamato asked. Hearing this, Kazuki Hayori looked at Yamato deeply. If she didn't know Yamato's character, she would have doubted whether she was really exposed, and Yamato deliberately came to find out the information of the Red Scabbard 9 men. I don't know either. Kazuki Hayori shook her head in panic, and then quickly changed the subject. Do you still want to hear the rest of this? Yes, of course. Yamato nodded frantically. Kazuki Hayori shook his head helplessly, and then continued to translate the contents of the notebook. I don't know if it's an illusion, but I always feel that the people of the Kazuki family are not very smart. I am considered a big villain in Wanakuni, right? But there is a little girl from the Kazuki family who wants to follow me. Can you not be so outrageous? You are so filial. He didn't learn from Yamato next door. Yamato said excitedly, Xiaozi, did you hear it? My name appeared in the diary. Kazuki Hayori complained, this is not a glorious thing. Yamato and the Kazuki family seem to have a connection. But then again, the Kazuki family is not really suitable for governing a country. They seem to be born samurai, but definitely not daimyo. It's ridiculous to think about Kazuki Odin in later generations. You say he is not suitable to be a daimyo. That unlucky kid knew how to win people's hearts when he was 20 years old, accept all the power, connections, and generals, and then transform Kuri and stabilize the public security in Kuri. Kazuki Odin was able to subdue most of the villains at that time and teach them farming and construction techniques, cultivate farmland to provide food, and lead the construction of facilities in the Kuri area, and he was deeply loved by the residents. It can be seen that the other party is indeed a qualified ruler. Could it be? Kazuki Hayori's pupil shrank. Keywords, later generations. Keywords, Kazuki Odin. Kazuki Hayori's hand holding the notebook trembled slightly. Did the owner of this notebook also eat the time fruit? Otherwise, why would he know about their era? And that person's evaluation of the Kazuki family. This person is full of prejudice against the Kazuki family. Although his tone is very objective. What does it mean that the Sky family is not suitable to be a ruler? When the Kazuki family ruled Wanakuni, the people here lived and worked more peacefully than now. No matter who you are, I will prove to you that the Kazuki family is qualified to rule Wanakuni. We are definitely no worse than Kurizumi Orochi. Kazuki Hayori thought to himself with his fists clenched. Finally realized the key point. Yamato asked curiously, Xiao Zi, this notebook seems to be a long time ago, but why does he know about our time? Kazuki Hayori shook his head in confusion and then explained, maybe I always have a special devil fruit, so I just happen to know about our time. Yamato nodded, accepting Kazuki Hayori's explanation, but Yamato always felt that things were not that simple. At this time, Kazuki Hayori had already started translating the contents of page 3. He was quite curious about how the owner of the diary evaluated his father. Kazuki Odin was definitely a promising young man when he was 20 years old. Why did he seem to become more stupid after going out? Is stupidity really contagious? After staying in Roger's pirate group for a long time, his IQ has also been assimilated to Roger's level. After returning from 15 years at sea, although his strength has become stronger, his brain has become not so normal. Others broaden their horizons and gain knowledge and wisdom after going out to sea. As a result, when it comes to Kazuki Odin, the unlucky kid, he becomes even more stupid. This is not how you see the world, right? Kazuki Hayori. This cannot be blamed on my father, but on the damned Kurizumi Orochi, who is too despicable. Kazuki Hayori silently defended his father in his heart. If it weren't for Kurizumi Orochi threatening his father with the people of Wanakuni, how could his father do such a thing? And the despicable Kaido, thinking of this, Kazuki Hayori quickly turned to the next page. After being plotted by Kurizumi Orochi and then by Kaido, Kazuki Odin is really brainless, as expected. Those who can be threatened are all good people. Kazuki Odin is a lesson learned from a past. If you want to overthrow the world government, morality, and the like seem to have to be reduced in number. Ahem, I'm off topic. Let's talk about Ing. As a princess who has worked with this generation, Ing actually wants to go out to see a wider world. That's why she was so crazy that she wanted to follow me, a man from the Wanakuni family. Seeing this, Kazuki Hayori nodded with satisfaction. So that's why it seems that the ancestor of this Wanakuni is stronger than Yamato. Ing just wanted to follow the enemy to the sea, but the one in front of me was really father leaving son laughing. Looking at the weak and changeable purple-haired girl in front of me, I suddenly had a bold idea in my mind. If we really go to the sea, Ying's current state is actually no different from sending herself to death, and the sea in this era is not very exciting. Ying's dream is just to make the people of Wanakuni live a better life, and then to see a wider world. I have realized Ying's dream as a bargaining chip and reached a deal with the other party, dark purple hair, and the name is Ying. Kazuki Hayori stopped translating and then looked up at the expressionless girl in front of him. You seem to be called Lei Ying? Kazuki Hayori asked tentatively. Knowing what Kazuki Hayori wanted to ask, Ing said expressionlessly, I should be the Ing in the diary. Kazuki Hayori. Kazuki Hayori looked at the shadow in front of him in disbelief. If what was written on the notebook was true, if what Lei Ying said was true, then the girl in front of him is not his own. What kind of super reduction is this? It shouldn't be that serious, right? If the person in front of him is really the ancestor of Kazuki hundreds of years ago, then he must call the girl in front of him the ancestor. Thinking of this, Kazuki Hayori couldn't help shaking his head. After throwing away the thoughts in his mind, Kazuki Hayori quickly turned to the following content. Kazuki Hayori now urgently wants to know whether his guess is true. Although the people of the Kazuki family are not very polite, the little shadow guy is very cute, and I did take a lot of sea stone. So I'd better help. It's a hope for the future Kazuki family. Isn't the shadow more suitable to be the daimyo than the beast Mamasuk? If Yao Zisuk really becomes the daimyo of Wanakuni, I'm really afraid that I can't help but destroy this unfortunate place. Kazuki Hayori. After translating this paragraph, Kazuki Hayori's face turned extremely pale. What did his brother do to make the owner of the diary hate him so much? Thinking of this, Kazuki couldn't help but look at Lei Yingying. If what the diary said was true, then the person in front of him might really be his ancestor. But from a personal perspective, Kazuki Hayori hoped that his brother would become the daimyo of Wanakuni. After all, there was no precedent for a woman to become a daimyo in Wanakuni.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.